Welcome to the third annual PowerSports Power Hour Super Bowl special, and with me once again for the third straight year, Michael Filipkowski. Welcome
Third
back.
straight year, folks.
Third straight year.
I'm happy to be back.
It started live in the basement 2 years ago with Niners and Chiefs, where I literally was on the phone with you for 3 hours.
Yeah, that was
Last
a long
year
one.
we recorded it, and we're doing the recording again. And you know what? Who better to bring on for the Cincinnati Bengals? How they got here than Jake Circus.
How are we doing, boys?
Well, I'm doing great, Michael.
Listen, I'm wearing a Joe Burrow jersey. He's in the Super Bowl. There's not many better things that can happen.
Later, stick around for the rest of the Super Bowl special to see Michael hit the gritty.
Yeah, that's going to be good. That's going to be a good one, I think.
All right, Michael, this is also the first Super Bowl special you're filming from your dorm room.
It is. Well, we've only done this 3 years, but yeah, this is the dorm room, obviously. TB12 right there.
Yep.
No.
Gotta love him. Anyway, Jake, you're a Bengals fan. And what was your prediction for the Bengals this year?
So in August I tweeted. I have many infamous tweets about what the Bengals have done and the kind of the transactions they've made over the last 8 months, right? 8 to 10 months, and one of them is and I quote, "The Bengals are not winning 10 games. Sorry, guys." And people have quote tweeted over the last couple of weeks and said, "Oh, this guy's an idiot." So my exact prediction was 7-10 and last in the AFC North. I thought Joe Burrow would play well and they'd win games because of him. I just didn't think the offensive line was where it needed to be. I didn't think the defense was going to play up to par. And I was wrong. I'm in Lou. I've always been in Lou Anarumo's camp. I've always been on his side. I just didn't think they had the right players. They were completely lacking at corner. I still think they have one of the worst pass rushers in the league, and they have a bunch of young linebackers. The only good thing about their defense was they have a really good safety duo, and we knew that going into the year. And I was doubtful about the defensive line, both stopping the run and attacking the quarterback. I was really skeptical about the corners. And they got career years out of multiple guys on defense. And it's unbelievable how they got here.
And the most insane thing about that is all those criticisms that you laid are still true about this team.
Yes.
There's nothing about this team that is that significantly different from the offseason. It's just that they hit on everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything they touch turned to gold, starting with the quarterback, Joe Burrow, who was the number one pick. But if you said 3 years ago to me, if you said in early 2019 to me that Joe Burrow would start the Super Bowl, I would have looked at you and laughed in your face. And everyone would have.
Yeah, who thought he would, get there over Tom Brady? Of course, at that time, Brady was going all the way there. But...
Well, honestly, if you told me 3 years ago Tom Brady would be starting the Super Bowl, I'd probably be surprised as well. I would probably think. But my point being, Joe Burrow, it wasn't supposed to be here. The Bengals, he is a microcosm for the whole Bengals season. He is just hitting on everything. Everything is working. And that's what it felt like at LSU in that final year.
He's got the Midas touch. Everything that Joe Burrow does turns to gold. In the game against the Chiefs, and I was the perennial can't pick the Bengals game correctly this year because I think that
nobody could pick the Bengals correctly.
Every time I picked them to win, they lost. I remember earlier on in the season, I picked the Bengals in my Eliminator Challenge bracket the week that they're playing the Jets. And of course,
we'll get into that in a minute.
And I thought to myself, there's no way this team, does anything. And I was all over the season. I was jumping all over the place. And then in the AFC Championship game, I picked the Chiefs because I was like, listen, I love Joey B, of course, but I don't think there's any way that they can go into Kansas City. And then Joey B just starts, a la Eli Manning in the Super Bowl, dodging sacks like I've never even seen. He's high-stepping while Chris Jones is right behind him. And he's making throws across his body, from the left side of the field, dodging sacks. I'm like, who is this guy? I've never seen this before. And it's not to the level Patrick Mahomes, because he does it so often. But Joe Burrow was doing this most important time of the season.
And
so
that's
it's
the thing.
crazy.
You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to be Josh Allen. But you do have to be and you don't have to be Joe Burrow. But you do have to be at least something like that. I mean, you can't be Jimmy Garoppolo. And Joe Burrow has shown that, look, his first season in the league, showed a lot of promise, but there was a lot that they could grow from. Zach Taylor was probably the worst coach in the league last year, or with Adam Gase in that conversation as well. And so what do? The obvious idea is to protect the quarterback, right? Wrong. Jamar Chase, the best receiver in the SEC, the best receiver in college football in 2019, Joe Burrow's teammate. That's the move. And honestly, people were way too down on it, including myself. It was obvious looking back. Jake?
Yeah, and I was in the they need a wide receiver group. I knew they needed one. They did not have. People were saying, oh, they have AJ Green, they have John Ross, they have rookie T Higgins, and
well, yeah, that
no,
never made sense.
They need
I didn't think they needed
receiver.
an alpha. I didn't think they needed an alpha.
Right.
I thought they needed another guy. I didn't know they needed. I just didn't know how much this guy would help them.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they thought, and they knew all along. The pick was made in early March. Pretty much, Burrow vouched for it. He'll try to tell you he didn't, but he did. And they were all. It was a consensus decision. They loved Sewell. Sewell tested off the charts. Both had their pro days were back to back. So Bengals fans were like, Sewell. I think Sewell went first, and he went off the charts, and then Chase ran like a 4.32, and people are like, oh my god, like they're gonna take him. Yeah, something like that.
And this was the guy that, by the way, I honestly didn't like that much as a prospect compared to others.
Right. I was with you.
I didn't see any gap between him, Waddle, Smith, and Bateman. And
Waddle was my one.
And all of a sudden, this guy, I didn't believe it when he ran a 4.38. I didn't believe it. They drafted him at number 5, and at that point, I was starting to warm up to it. By the time the preseason comes around, I'm pretty warm to it. I think that it could work. The preseason happens.
Preseason happened, and he couldn't catch a ball. And I think everyone was nervous, like, oh my God, is this guy going to be an absolute bust? I mean, to an extent that I don't think, we always knew that, maybe some guys are not going to be as good, but, Jamar Chase had trouble catching the ball. And for me, a direct quote from my analysis from Jamar Chase was, Chase is an incredible receiver with all the natural talents to make a great NFL wide receiver. His abilities are incredibly well developed, and he has skills to take NFL wide receivers. Sorry, I don't even know what I'm saying. Anyways, he was good, but I didn't love him. That's what I'm trying to say. And
sounds like you loved him.
And he hadn't played for a whole year too. And I was thinking to myself, how is a guy like I know LSU's great, and I know that 2019 Joe Burrow and the whole, but I was like, Justin Jefferson was so good. You have 2 wide receivers who are insanely good from the same team. I was saying no way. It's just I was like, protect Burrow. I mean, he just tore his, blew his knee out, and turns out that Jamar Chase is pretty good.
Yeah, all preseason. I was warmed up to it by the preseason. He comes out, and now he's the problem, not the situation, because the whole offseason, Chase was never the issue when we were talking about this pick. Everyone agreed he was a great player. Even the people that were low on him agreed he was a great player. It was the circumstances by which the pick was made. And I still think Penei Sewell was one of the best. He was one of the best tackles in the league, and nobody talked about it.
Yeah. This plays for the Lions.
But Jamar Chase may have just had the best rookie season ever. I
think he did. I have to say he did. And we all know that I am a huge Kirk Cousins Vikings, fanatic. And I loved seeing Justin Jefferson last year, make Kirk Cousins look so good, because that, my narratives came so true. And, Justin Jefferson being on the Vikings helps a lot. And I have to say, all year I was thinking, okay, Justin Jefferson is still better than. And then Chase, what he does sometimes with the ball And I know Tyreek Hill is able to like kind of run all over the field, but I think that Jamar Chase has that same ability, but he's just bigger. I think he's a bit more talented route runner. Like I think Tyreek's great, he's super fast, but I love when I can see Jamar
Chase is more of a Chase plays above his size, which is what's crazy for
That's
him.
what I'm saying.
It's not that he's the most technically gifted. Honestly, I think Hill is a little bit more gifted as a route runner. But like Jamar Chase will bully you at 6 feet 208 pounds. He will play you like he's 6'3". He said in an interview that he looked up to Des Bryant. Des Bryant was bigger.
Yeah. And look, AJ Green was absolutely adored by this fan base for almost a decade, and Jamar Chase is going to be better by a long shot. And AJ Green made 7 straight Pro Bowls in his first 7 years.
And Jamar Chase's first season was better than every AJ Green season.
Yeah, and like as long as Chase can have that longevity, he's going to be one of the all-time greats, and he's already on pace for that. And it's unbelievable the connection with Burrow, and that's what people talked about, but it actually is real. And that's one of the things that surprised me is people were excusing the pick because they roomed in college and they had one magical season, and they're going to try to rekindle the magic, but they did. And that's one of the things that was unbelievable to me is that they actually did it, especially with the year off. And I was really surprised to see them not miss a beat. And it's real. It is absolutely real.
Yeah, I think people do undervalue the ability of a quarterback having a wide receiver that he's already played with in college. And
I can see that, but like I also think that like this is a once in a generation type this is not going to happen again. Like this kind of season.
Jalen Waddle was a good rookie, and Tua was a decent quarterback, but just because they won a national championship together, that doesn't Burrow is an elite quarterback, Chase is an elite receiver. And if you put those two together, automatically they're going to have success. You can't take Tua to Waddle. Waddle's good, but
I want to talk also about the defense that the Bengals have built because it's really a lot of spare parts.
Well, I think
you look at the number one corner, Chidobe Awuzie. He was a role player for the Cowboys, a good role player, but a role player. You look at Mike Hilton. He was honestly, I love the Mike Hilton signing for the Bengals when they made it, and he's been a good player. But and Eli Apple, another guy who one of the worst players I've ever seen when he played here in New York.
Hey, he made the most important tackle 2 weeks. I mean, that was a great tackle on Tyreek.
And then you look at, the one thing that we knew about this defense was Jesse Bates and Von Bell were great. And then what happens?
Trey Hendrickson?
They signed Trey Hendrickson. I was low on him. They lose Carl Lawson, who I thought was a better player. Trey Hendrickson comes about. How many sacks? 13 and a half?
Yeah, he had that streak. He had a sack in his 11 of the 12 first games of the first 11 of 12 games. He had a sack. He had a crazy streak. It was like the Bengals all-time consecutive games with a sack streak. And I was with you. I was like, please re-sign Carl Lawson. And then when I got the text that said Carl Lawson went to the Jets, I was like, nah, shit. And then the next night they signed,
the Jets took two of my favorite targets for the Patriots. I wanted Corey Davis and I wanted Carl Lawson. The Jets got both of them on good deals, might I add.
And Carl Lawson coming back for the Jets is a big addition. Like they're going to be decent next year when Carl Lawson comes back. He's an instant upgrade. He's really good.
He's an instant upgrade for sure, but decent. I don't know. I've seen this movie too many times.
I think.
All right, let's not talk about the Jets. Let's talk back about the Bengals. I think that the key to this defense, the jewel that not as many people talk about is DJ Reader.
It's true. He's good. Listen, the Bengals got a great defensive line. And when we talk about the Bengals rebuilding their defense, it started 2 seasons ago. It didn't start this past offseason. It started 2 off seasons ago. And they made all those huge signings. I don't know if you guys remember that, where Zach Taylor spent like a truckload of money on all these players. And again, in this season, they spent a ton of money. The Bengals defensive line, I think, is one of the more underrated parts of the team. Because when you look at it, I don't know how many stars you have on that side. I mean, obviously DJ Reader, Sam Hubbard, or Chris
Yes,
Hubbard,
Sam Hubbard is the other
Yeah.
guy that I think is extremely undervalued.
They're all good,
Oh.
and they'll get pressure collectively. And I think going into this game and throughout the season, like, who do you stop? Because if you're putting your guys on, double teaming one of them, like, you got to make a decision about who's the most impactful. And I think that's a tough decision on this defensive line.
Yeah, so like, look, their defensive line is really bad, and you look Hendrickson, you get the pressures, you get the sacks, but interior wise, they've struggled in recent years. They lost Andrew Billings. They had a ton of opt outs last year, and they were really, really weak. They were signing guys off. They signed Mike Daniels off the street, and he's still on the practice
the
squad.
post Geno Atkins era was
right, and Geno was
pretty
terrible
lean
last year, and like Geno was terrible last year, and they brought in Larry Ogunjobi. They other than Hendrickson, there's not a guy who can just get to the quarterback. Sam Hubbard is.
What?
Is it? You can cut that, right?
What did you say?
No, there's like screaming outside, but we're good.
I didn't even hear that. But Sam Hubbard,
okay.
He's always been a good run defender. And this year comes out 7.5 sacks.
It's a lot of sacks.
He had 8.5 2 years ago, but like, I feel like this year, last year he only had 2. This year back to 7.5. Like, everything's going right for them.
Yeah, so I still think the defensive line
it's a weakness, but it's not like
it's the weakness.
But it's not a
and
super weakness.
Going into the offseason is like solving their problems is just easy because they just re-sign the guys who are free agents. That's literally what their problems are at the offseason. It's very easy. And BJ Hill's been unbelievable. They got him for Billy goddamn Price, 1-for-1, which is unbelievable. BJ Hill's been great since week 1. And then Larry was good. He's injured, so that kind of stinks. And they signed 2 guys off the street for the playoffs with Larry out. But they didn't get after Ryan Tannehill. They didn't get after Derek Carr, and they really didn't get after Patrick Mahomes. So, and analytically, they've been bad against the run. So this defensive line really is they've just been making clutch plays. Like the BJ Hill interception was super clutch. The Trey Hendrickson strip sack was really clutch against Vegas. But and
that's what happens.
They're just getting it done.
Yeah, they get the job done. You don't have to be the best on every down. That is, if you're picking the Cincinnati Bengals to win the Super Bowl, it's not because you think they're going to dominate every down. It's because you think they're going to come up with the biggest plays.
Yeah, and I agree.
That's what's paralyzed me over these last 2 weeks making my prediction, which you'll hear later in the Super Bowl special, along with Michael's and that of many guests that will hopefully be sending them my way. I haven't received many yet, but they will be coming in just like they have over the past 2 years. And the Bengals defense, like, it gets the job done. 17th in points allowed. Like, that's not good. It's not bad. And over the course of the season,
they have 4 interceptions on tipped passes the last 2 games. And they've all come in clutch situations.
It works. Yeah. It works. And that's
the Bengals
crazy.
This season, like, and it was interesting because going back to the first week of the season, right? And they played the Vikings and heartbreaking loss for Kirk Cousins and the boys. Dalvin Cook fumbling the ball and just, oh my God.
Guy has memorized every Kirk Cousins excuse.
I do. I have to. It's like painful at this point. And then you have McPherson just nailing kicks all year long. I mean, week by week, like after week 1, I thought, oh, this Bengals team, like, listen, it was a home game. Dalvin Cook, this team's not going anywhere. They're not consistent enough. They don't show me enough, like, week to week, like, hey, this team is going to be able to win consistent games.
And they weren't. That's the thing.
And they never were. And I had them as last place, like, bottom of the AFC North, like, by a long shot, because they just didn't think this team could take that next step forward, playing in a tough division with a tough schedule. And then just some great games. Like that last week against the Chiefs, I was watching, that game was just Joe Burrow being great at football. I mean, that's what this end of the season has been.
Joe Burrow being great, Jamar Chase being great.
Football.
It's just, high-end talent bailing out awful coaching. And that's the story of the season. And when we talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, you can't talk about it without talking about the 2 Ravens games, where the first one, Jamar Chase lit up M&T Bank Stadium and Marlon Humphrey. And then the second one, Joe Burrow threw for 525 yards and 4 touchdowns. They were rubbing it in. It was ridiculous. It was one of the most insane games I've ever seen a quarterback or like a group of receivers play. And then Jamar Chase the next week against the Chiefs, 266 receiving yards.
Yeah, he dusted Charvarius Ward, and I was so happy.
Like, how does this happen that all of a sudden a team that lost to the New York Jets, team that lost to the Bears, team that lost to the Browns by nearly 30 points.
I remember that. That was a weird-ass game.
They come together at the end of the season, and they beat the Chiefs. And then they're going to the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, they play the Raiders in the first round. They don't play their best game. They win. They play against the Titans. They don't play their best game. They win. They play against the Chiefs. They don't play their best game. They win.
They played the best half, though. That second half,
they did.
Best half of the season.
But they played a terrible first half.
It's true.
They won anyway. That's the Cincinnati Bengals. Somehow, some way, they will find a way to win a game. Do I have any idea how they're here? Well, a little. They have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Jesse Bates. We haven't even mentioned Joe Mixon this entire time. He's probably a top 5 running back. But the whole point, they're here. Doesn't matter how you got here. This entire segment, it doesn't matter. They're in the Super Bowl. 1 game, 60 minutes. And everything else that happened, people will forget about it. The Jets game, it won't matter. The Jets game already doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, they win this game against the Rams in SoFi Stadium. I think this will be one of the more incredible seasons that I've been around for. I mean, I've never, in the years that I've been watching, covering football, have I seen a team as inconsistent, as analytically problematic, I think is the best way to talk about it.
That's a really good way to find. Yeah, that's really
because
good. I like that.
There is no metric that I can see when I talk about the Bengals that tells me, hey, this team should be here. Last year, I mean,
there's
this
one
team's offensive line.
There's one metric.
It's called Joey
it's
franchise.
9. And it's just straight up the number 9.
I mean, that's the definition of a winner right there. Absolutely.
They're 18th in DVOA. Their DVOA was 0.0. They were an average team this year.
And my thing is that they were probably sitting around 10, 12, 13 in power rankings all year. And that's still true. They're probably they're probably the 8th, 12th best team in the league.
I mean, is this team going into next season gonna be in the top 5? No, maybe.
No, but they're not.
Probably not. And that's the craziest thing.
It's their year. Theo Ash, who's gonna be joining us for the segment for the Rams.
Oh, you got Theo.
Yeah, we did. He's gonna join us for the very next segment, which is gonna be. It's filmed in weird order, but he's the next segment that you're gonna see. He's going to talk about the Rams, who are kind of similarly inconsistent, but good. They were good.
But they're on the opposite end of the
spectrum. Bengals are not good, and they're in the Super Bowl.
They're good. They're good.
Okay, I'm exaggerating, but my point is that and Theo Ash is famous for it. They were 2-15 in his predictions. And honestly, his points weren't wrong. Except for Burrow. Outside of Burrow, his points weren't wrong.
I'm trying to think of the video. I was with them on Hendrickson. They lost Lawson. They lost William Jackson. The coaching staff, you call them nobodies. They believe in Zach Taylor. The culture is unbelievable. They're not nobodies.
Joe Burrow.
The culture. Hey, listen.
No.
How can the culture of a team be unbelievable if they don't have an indoor practice facility in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is the only team in the NFL that I know of that it plays in cold weather without an indoor practice. This team made it to the Super Bowl.
Bad.
I mean, it's like,
you know what? It doesn't matter because I don't think they're going to be building one anytime soon with the luck that they've had. They want to keep all the superstitions.
They actually can't. They've been trying to buy a piece of land right next to PBS for years, and they can't buy it, so it will not be coming anytime soon. But they're trying.
Jake, will you be wearing the same underwear from the conference championship?
No.
Oh, I'm turning one of my socks inside out. I saw Joe Burrow does that, before games. So I'm doing that.
I mean, hey, Joe Cool, Joey Franchise, all the
Hey, that's
nicknames.
what they call me. That's what they call me, Joe Cool. I got to get one of his coats.
Anyway, anything else you'd like to say about your Cincinnati Bengals?
Everyone keeps trying to tell me that they have nothing to lose, that they're playing with house money. That's what all these stupid national media shows are saying. They're gonna.
This might be their only chance.
No, it's the Seahawks in 2013. They're gonna go to infinity Super Bowl because they have that great defense. They have Russell Wilson. The Chiefs are gonna go to the Super Bowl every single year. I'm like, are you seriously trying to tell me that we're guaranteed to go back? No, they're here. They win now. If they lose, it's gonna suck. They better win. It's
you know what? This is what I felt. This is what I felt in 2018 with the Red Sox. This is what I felt in 2019, not in 2019 with the Bruins, in 2018 with the Celtics. Win. Just get it done. Doesn't matter for the future. You win now, everything's a success.
And the legacies of all these guys will change in an instant. I mean, Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl in his second season. I mean, craziness. Zach Taylor wins the Super Bowl. Lives are changed.
If
forever.
Zach Taylor wins the Super Bowl, oh my God, that could set the Bengals.
They're gonna sign him to a
back.
lifetime. They're gonna sign to a lifetime contract.
That's why you need to win. That's why you don't need to win. That's why you're playing with. It's funny because once you get a real coach, you'll actually be good. Together.
Yeah.
But this Bengals team,
Marvin Lewis was there for. He's a horrible play caller, and I will die on that hill. I think Zach Taylor is a really good coach, but he is a horrible play caller. He's an absolutely atrocious play caller, in my opinion.
You know what? We gotta finish this up here, but I just want to say thanks to Jake for joining us. Michael, you'll obviously stay with me for the rest of this special. Or hopefully all the segments. Hopefully all of the segments, as many as you can get to, because they're being recorded over a spurt of Friday and Saturday. Anyway, the Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Doesn't matter how they got here. This entire segment, you can skip over it. It doesn't matter. But here's what you must know. Here's what you must know. Here's what you must know. The Cincinnati Bengals are here right now, and they will play their hearts out for 60 minutes, like any other Super Bowl team. They might be 18th in DVOA. They might be first in everyone's hearts around the country. But this Cincinnati Bengals team, they will fight, and whatever it takes, if it's one play, this Bengals team has a good chance of coming up with it like they have all year. And thank you, we'll be back for the next segment. Welcome back to the PowerSports Power Hour Super Bowl special. I am Sam Fetterman. This is Michael Filipkowski. And, well, Theo Ash is here. Everyone knows him. Everyone knows the background. And the Rams are the opposite of the Bengals in this sense. The Bengals were not supposed to be here, as Theo knows very well. And the Rams were supposed to be here. This was calculated.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. The dichotomy of how these were built, one team all in for this year, built almost like a basketball team, right? With the way they built a super team with their trade assets and haven't made a first round pick since Jared Goff years ago. And then the Bengals, who are almost completely homegrown here, grown from almost one school, LSU. And it's crazy that this is the matchup. I didn't predict it, that's for sure.
Yeah, nobody could predict it. The Rams, they hired Sean McVay in 2017, and I think people when people think of Jared Goff, they don't really think of how really solid he was, and they also don't think of how bad he was as a rookie.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah, well, he was with Jeff Fisher as a rookie, and he was horrible.
Completely turns around, has some 2 really solid seasons. And
I mean, he got paid. He was one of the highest paid players in the league for a second there. Yeah, and no one was like, "Oh my God, you paid that guy." It was pretty well received. Yeah, he was good in LA for a bit there.
And then obviously wheels come off, and after 2020, they realize, all right, we're not going to win with him. Our window is maybe not as long as we thought it would be. Let's make the move. And they come out and they trade for Matthew Stafford, who I've been lower on in the past, but I think I always acknowledged the potential. It's always hard to see because you guy been in the league for so long, never fully put it together. And it looked like he really was putting it together. He had the best whatever stretch of his career.
Right.
And Matthew Stafford, and everyone is like, but then Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. He's got those tendencies to kind of throw the ball directly to the linebacker sometime, and he'll try to do a little. He'll be like, "Yeah, it's time to throw a pick 6." And he had that stretch in the middle of the season, and his record against teams with winning records in Detroit was pretty atrocious. And obviously, Detroit's Detroit, but he had some decent offenses there. He had Calvin Johnson for a long time, and the offensive line wasn't always maybe as bad as some people thought it was. So. You'd expect the record to be a little bit better than it was. And then, of course, there was that stretch over the middle of the season where Rams were kind of falling apart. So, yeah, it's if the Rams lose this game and the offense doesn't play well, it's probably going to be Stafford's fault more than anybody. Like, there's always the potential with Stafford that he does some dumb turnovers, a pick 6 or whatever, and ruins it for the team. But what he's so much better at than Goff is he can read the whole field, and he doesn't need the play to be like, okay, Jared, you're going to go here. And if that's not there, just like, I'm going to pray to God, you don't screw it up. No, Stafford is, someone who, okay, the front side's there. I can hit the backside, or, I can throw it sidearm, or I can do some creative stuff under pressure against a blitz, and that's the risk that makes it all worth taking. Is you don't need to hold his hand and babysit him. He might screw a couple things up and try to do too much, but there's still that whole scale. Oh, here's doing nothing, here's doing too much. He fills that entire bar of good things. It's before sometimes it gets.
It's like he crawled and fought and absolutely dug himself for a decade plus so Justin Herbert could run.
Right. I mean, I think one of the things about Matthew Stafford is, when he was in Detroit, as Sam said, I always knew he was good. He had a lot of talent, and for me, I just assumed hey, listen, he's on the Lions. Nothing good ever happens to the Lions.
But there was still more. It was never Matthew Stafford's the problem, but it never.
He was never the solution to the problem. You know what I'm saying?
It never felt like he was. It felt like he was just going to go down as another guy. But this year,
he never had a season like Burrow's having right now. He never had a season where the Bengals have been historically awful, right? He never had a season where he just led that, despite that historic awfulness, turned the team around like Burrow is doing right now. And because of that, there's always the is he an all-time great, right? Is he a Hall of Famer? Is he just someone who is putting up empty stats on a bad team? That to me is what Stafford was always missing, was a year like Burrow is having right now.
And Stafford pretty much had that year this year. He was statistically excellent. But there were always times over the course of this season and over the course of every season where it was man, is Matthew Stafford gonna end up costing this team? But if Matthew Stafford is the one costing this team and they made it to the Super Bowl, they're doing fine because look, they still have next year. Probably next year is probably the last year of their window.
Right, because then they have to, Stafford's up, his contract's up after next season, right? And
Something
to
like
me, it
that.
feels like the Rams are one of these teams that's just like a Madden team. It's like, how do you have Aaron Donald, the best defensive player of like now,
The best,
like,
arguably the best player to ever
Player
lace them
in-
up, and then
Jalen Ramsey.
arguably one of the best cornerbacks, one of the best cornerback prospects ever, who's turned into the best cornerback in the league. And then also Von Miller, another one of the best defensive players to ever lace it up, as well as one of the more talented quarterbacks we've seen, one of the more talented receivers we've ever seen, and then this just out of absolutely nowhere demigod slot receiver.
It's crazy. I mean, it's and it comes off a year where the Bucks. I mean, they kind of remind me of the Bucks last year, where like at the end of the day, when the Bucks destroyed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, it was like we should have seen this coming because the front seven with Vea coming back and Barrett and JPP and the linebackers and Brady and the all-star offensive line and the three receivers. I mean, it was like, okay, yeah, this was one of the better teams that we've seen, and we're seeing it now in the Super Bowl. And I think you're kind of gonna. I think I'm projecting. I mean, I'm going to hate on the Bengals one last time that we're going to see a pretty big Rams victory because it is. I really do think this is one of the more talented teams that we've seen in a long time. All right, I mean, and the trades they made midseason, right? Like Von Miller, talking more about, Von Miller was a move that was like, okay, we have like no picks, and then we're just going to make another upgrade with the second rounder that we do have, and it's like
Sony Michel.
They didn't change anything about their defense. They just had a role, and they had one guy playing it, and they were like, okay, we could have Von Miller playing that. we could have Von Miller.
Yeah, we could have first ballot Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP Von Miller, and all we have to give up is
a second and a third, right?
Like, sure, we already don't have draft picks. What's stopping us from doing this now?
We already know we're going to be a bad team in 4 years. Like, but I
can't wait for it doesn't and. With all the things that are coming out with Sean McVay, it doesn't seem like he's going to be there to see it.
Yes.
Bring Jeff
they're going.
Back.
It's the you sell your soul for a Super Bowl times a million, and it's worth it if you win a Super Bowl. Like,
I mean, some people. There's a lot of fans who've never seen their favorite team win a ring. All right, I'm from Minnesota. Viking fans they've never seen their team win a ring. Cardinals fans. I'm in Arizona here. None of their fans have ever seen it.
I mean, the Cardinals haven't won a championship since, I believe, 1947.
Yeah, like most people, like it is a real shot that you just go decades and decades without winning a ring. So if you can get one, people like, I know you're a Patriots fan, so like the Patriots dynasty kind of like.
Oh, it's never going to happen again. It's never going to happen again. I think that people don't appreciate just how insane it was. And the Patriots were consistently the best team in the league over a 20-year span.
I mean, we went to 9 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
right?
And there was a 10-year period where they didn't win one. I mean, Brady had the like 3 at the beginning of his career, and then some of those best Patriots teams did not win one. And then it was almost like 2 little dynasties at the beginning with like Ty Law and McGinnis and those
Seymour.
Right. And then there was almost like
Richard Seymour.
And then like Wes Welker never won a ring, right? Randy Moss never won a ring. And then there was that dynasty.
Samuel.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard.
It's not easy.
Some of the best teams ever don't win Super Bowls. Dan Marino, that Dolphins team, if that were the 85 Bears kryptonite, they never won one. Peyton Manning only won one with the Colts.
Yeah. Rodgers. People always give Rodgers shit for only winning one ring and being a playoff choker.
Yeah, like he's had it.
The dude's top 10 all time in playoff wins and like 6 all time in playoff passer rating, and that's like a bad playoff performance.
Tom Brady has just made everybody else look so pedestrian. Like Tom Brady's playoff record in years where he doesn't win the Super Bowl is similar to like Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning's career playoff records.
Yeah. So yes, it is worth it to make these moves and get a ring now if you can do it. It's risky because if Stafford, like let's say Stafford got hurt this year, you are done, dude. Like it is that going forward, like you put all your eggs in this basket, and then you're probably getting like fired if it doesn't work because your record is not going to. You eventually, the price will probably come to pay for not having an infusion of high level young talent on your roster. So it's risky, but the way I see it, it's going to pay off. And like let's talk a little bit about like the defense here and a little bit more of what they do with like Von Miller and stuff. The Rams will play a lot of 5 defenders like on the front at one time, like 5 defensive linemen.
Right.
And most teams will play like mostly 4. But when you get with 5, everyone is one-on-one all the time. One-on-ones across the board, 5 linemen, unless they bring in a tight end or whatever. But usually it's like one-on-one. And when you can when you can identify, okay, your worst lineman is for the Bengals like Hakeem Adeniji, 77.
Drafted right before Michael Onwenu.
Yes. You can be like, okay, Donald's there the whole game. Or against the Bucks, they had when Wirfs was out, I can't remember, Wells replaced him at right tackle.
Right. Yeah.
Just a steady diet of one-on-ones with Aaron
They
Donald.
got so much pressure on Brady, and it really made Brady uncomfortable. And they're able to make quarterbacks uncomfortable. And the thing is, obviously, Joe Burrow he's going to take the hits, but he's also going to make the plays when he's uncomfortable.
Right.
It's not like, I mean, obviously Kyler is phenomenal, but he was clearly on a downward trend at that point. So Burrow right now, it's probably the best guy they've faced in the playoffs, because I mean, considering where Kyler was, you could argue Kyler's better, but considering where he was right now, Burrow's better than that Kyler.
Yeah. I mean, he's better than Brady, Kyler, and the once.
Oh, Hopkins wait! Why did I forget about Brady?
Well, it's different because I think it's a bit.
I am insane. All right, but like in the sense of being able to make plays is what I was trying to say. Brady's obviously the greatest pocket mover ever, but if you bring too much in the pocket, which is what the Rams were able to do, it's not going to matter.
Like that hurts Brady. But when you look at the Rams, like even this season, like. Again, as you say, it reminds me a lot of the Bucks because it was very tumultuous throughout the season, and throughout the entire regular season, I never was able to point at the Rams and say, "This is the stretch where we expect like this is the Rams team that we know." I mean, the last 3 games of the season, and Sam and I were talking about this before the show, but was it good? I mean, like it was okay, I guess. Like
they squeaked past Tyler Huntley. They blew a lead against.
7. Beat the Ravens by 1, and that was only because OBJ made that sick play, and then they lost to the Niners in overtime. And so you look at those 3 games, and you think to yourself, is that a Super Bowl contender? And it's all about putting it together in the playoffs. And we always knew the Rams had talent, but it was like, how are they going to piece it together? And now you see like Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, like the effect that those 2 guys have.
It's working. But
and in these playoffs, I mean, Stafford has been ridiculous so far in these playoffs.
Yeah, I think he's had a better run than Burrow, and people don't like that.
Because against the Buccaneers, right, there was the lead that was getting choked, and so people are like, "Oh boy, Stafford."
How many times did
none of it was Stafford's fault. And like
how many times did the science experiment that is Cam Akers returning from a torn whatever it was in like a week?
It felt like a week.
There's no way that like it's like that one of those movies where you put the guy in a coma and you steal his identity. Totally what happened with Cam Akers. He fumbled like 1 billion times. They snapped it into the Gulf of Mexico. So
Cooper Kupp fumbled or got stripped. Yeah. Like, I mean, it was just freaky things that happened.
Cooper Kupp, like, again, this is the guy that I loved at Eastern Washington. Like, I thought he was one of the more underrated players in that draft class. And nobody saw this. Nobody saw this coming.
No.
And
I mean, I like Cooper Kupp before.
Something that I struggled with is just accepting that he was like this good. Like, because I didn't even get it. It didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone that also, I mean, it's part of the. Oops, my microphone fell off here. 1 sec.
But like, it didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense how he's this good. He just is.
It's Cooper Kupp.
He's good at everything though. Like the thing about him and what I struggled is like, yeah, a lot of it comes on linebackers and a lot of it comes on safeties or whatnot. But I mean, he just catches everything. He literally does have like Satan's gloves where he tracks the ball and looks it into his hands and just never drops a pass. His yak numbers I think are a little bit inflated, like when he like leads the league in yards after catch, because a lot of the routes he runs in the slot over the middle lend themselves to yak more than some of the outside routes maybe do. But that being said, he really is strong. Like he is really strong. So
He's
like
bigger than DeAndre Hopkins.
he's a big wide receiver. He's a strong wide receiver. So like
Right.
those arm tackles don't really bring him down. He's not as electric as like a Rondale.
And what's crazy is like I don't expect a guy like Cooper Kupp. Maybe he'll lead the league in receptions. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he'll get it in yards and like yak maybe, but like how do you lead in touchdowns as well as all this? To me, like how one person
his contested catching ability towards the end of the season, that catch against the 49ers in the end zone was crazy.
I mean,
yeah,
he's ridiculous.
He is ridiculous.
And yeah, no, he's really good. Once you get past the like, oh, he's beating a linebacker, anyone could do that. And he's legitimately like a very good blocker. Like you put him in the formation, he's gonna bring it, which is like
God, I want him on the Patriots so bad.
And I think I remember when like Hunter Renfrow was in the draft and like all these white receivers, like it's got all the things. Every single meme is about the Patriots getting white receivers. Because that one year where the Patriots made a Super Bowl run with Hogan, Amendola, and Edelman.
I mean, to be fair,
that was
to be
funny.
fair, that is a lot of white wide receivers, and there was Wes Welker there.
Yeah,
and they brought in Tim Tebow at one point to be like tight end. Yeah.
No, he was the backup quarterback in training camp.
That's right.
That was 2013. I still remember it. And we look at just the Rams, and I mean, they bring in Odell Beckham Jr., who, I mean, he clearly isn't what he once was.
Hey, I didn't think he was a bum.
All right.
I didn't know.
He clearly isn't what he once was, but he's still a valuable contributor.
Very valuable. And he's, I think, maybe one of the keys to winning this game. If you've got Kupp, I would expect the Bengals to come out and flood coverage to Kupp and bracket him and double team him. And this is something we've seen these whole playoffs is, a lot of one-on-ones for Odell Beckham. They will put Kupp really does play like a fullback tight end type of role. Like that's not a joke. Like he legitimately will line up in the backfield. He will line up as a tight end. Like he kind of plays like Kyle. He'll line up like Josiah DeGuara. The Packers line up him in a similar way.
Cincinnati legend.
Yes, and the 49ers will line up Kyle Juszczyk in honestly similar ways that the Rams line up Kupp, except Kupp is, a lot more explosive than those guys, while also bringing the blocking
threat.
Kupp's
actually taller and only like 20 pounds lighter than Juszczyk.
Yeah, no. So you get him inside and a lot of coverages all kind of condense towards him, and you might want to spin a safety down into the box so you can bracket whatever option route he could go, slant or across the middle or break it outside. So that leaves a lot of one-on-ones for Odell Beckham. And when Stafford has looked for Odell Beckham's on the one-on-ones, Odell is winning them over and over again. And that is how he's been so good in these playoffs. That's how he's had these.
Eli, I don't know if you guys saw it. Eli Apple called out OBJ, and he was like, "Stick me on OBJ, I'll win that." That's gonna be very interesting. Because
I think I know who Giants fans are going to cheer for there.
I mean,
speaking of the Giants, like Odell had the reputation of that playoff performance where it was bad in 2016.
Well, that's why you don't go on a boat cruise before a game.
And like it was bad, and now like he's revitalizing his playoff legacy. It's not just that; it's you look back 20 years from now, we're going to look back on this Rams team and say, if they end up winning, man, it's Aaron Donald winning, it's Jalen Ramsey winning, it's Odell winning, it's Stafford winning.
Whitworth winning.
A guy who we haven't mentioned that they bring in after spending so many years with the Cincinnati Bengals. one of the best linemen, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Easily,
Walter
easily.
Payton, Man of the Year now.
To play tackle, I mean, I might think what the season he's having deserves all the credit, like the same amount of credit that Brady got for having the season he did at age 45. I mean,
He's 40.
no
Like, it's
tackle,
insane.
no tackle has ever done that before, and he didn't have a great game against the Nick Bosa gave him some trouble. When Nick Bosa is going to give you a lot of trouble,
Yeah.
but Whitworth, you know, if he can shut down Hendrickson, like the path for the Rams, like again, how the Rams got here. How did they get here? They got here by building a super team. If they play a perfect game, they will beat the Bengals by like 21 points.
I
Like
wouldn't be
30
surprised.
points.
Yeah,
by
what
the
I
end
was
of the
saying
season.
was the Rams can be the best team in this game by just being who they are. But
we
Yeah.
could see a repeat of last year.
but the Bengals can win this game by getting slightly outplayed most of the game and having a couple big plays.
Yeah. If the Bengals play a perfect game, they'll win by like 3. If the Rams play a perfect game, they'll win by like 30. That is, and it's not impossible for the Bengals to win this game. They do have to play, but
the
the margin for error. Yeah.
I just think that, like, when it comes to this game, there's so much that we could see in this game. We could see both quarterbacks play completely flawlessly, have 41-38. We could also see them each throw 2 or 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
And I just haven't felt this way about any other Super Bowl, really. We look back these last couple of years, I haven't thought that there was this much variety in potential for the game to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like going back, I mean, you think back to Super Bowls in the past, and it's like, you know,
We know these
figured,
teams
like,
are going to be this or that.
we know who the teams were. Like, even if you go all the way back to like the Broncos versus like the Seattle Seahawks, like it was like you knew Seattle had to play a great defensive game, and you knew the Broncos had to play great offensively, and that was the winner of that was going to win the game.
Still proud of myself for correcting Regis Philbin on how to pronounce my name for that Super Bowl.
But like it's just
And predicting that right. I did say 27-17 though, not 43-8. But anyway, to this game, there's so much that can happen. But the Rams are the favorite, and they are deservedly the favorite. They should win this game because of how they built this team. They built this team, as you said, Theo, like an NBA team. It's crazy to think that. And if this works, are we going to see other teams try and do it? And have other teams kind of already started to do it? Like, the Bucks, not this way.
The Bucks got Brady, but the Bucks were mostly homegrown. And I also think it's going to be difficult for teams to build like the Rams because the Rams are a desirable.
Aaron Donald.
They play in LA. They play in Los Angeles, and they are a team that was just in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So when it comes to like the Panthers tried to trade for Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford said, I don't want to play for you guys because the Panthers suck and the offensive line is bad. I would rather go out and play in LA. So it's not like every team can just like get the free agents that they want or trade for whoever they want. And also, you know, so I think the fact that they are in LA and they are this big brand and they had the success, they were in the playoffs last year. Like, no, like a bad team, like let's say, I don't know, the Lions, we'll just say, can't just be like one day, we're gonna go all in.
Obviously, you can't
like,
be bad, but like for a team to get over the hump.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking now about the other team in LA who are pretty much the opposite, where they have no depth. And they need to build the depth instead of building the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't use this. They honestly should accumulate draft picks and get players from the draft picks. But the Rams are uniquely built, and I think we're going to see teams attempt to replicate it. Maybe not the exact same way, but teams are going to be a lot more aggressive with their draft picks if the Rams end up winning this game. And the quarterback market, as I've said this year, is going to be there's not enough good quarterbacks in the league.
Then
there's not enough good quarterbacks in the league right now. There's like 10 great ones, 6 good ones, a couple with potential, and a lot of shit.
And the GOAT, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, it's Yeah, I agree. In an offseason where you see the Rams have the success, in an offseason where the quarterback class is a little bit suspicious, a little bit mid
Bad.
in the draft, a little bit bad, and in an offseason where you could maybe maybe the Packers are listening to offers for
Maybe
Aaron
the
Rodgers,
Seahawks are
maybe the
listening.
Seahawks. I could definitely
Maybe the
see that.
Raiders are listening.
Yeah, maybe the Raiders are listening for Carr. Maybe even the Vikings are listening for Cousins.
Commanders probably listening about Heineke.
God, maybe.
Well, I mean, if you want Heineke, you should just draft Kenny
Take
Pickett.
Pickett. Yeah, Pickett. That's a good comp, by
That's
the way.
my
That
comp.
it's not a bad comp to be.
I was just saying, this guy looks like Joe Burrow if Joe Burrow wasn't good.
And that's Heineke.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Heineke.
Just again with the Rams, it's been a theme over McVay's tenure that they've kind of tailed a little bit at the second half of the season. It happened again this year, but like they have the talent this year to offset that more so.
Yes, and I do think the Rams, I mean, they may have dipped a little bit in performance with advanced analytics and they may not have scored
as look as good.
They didn't look as good from just the eye test, but I mean, they won, I think, like 6 of their last 8 games. They went, let's see, 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. Yeah, they went 5-2 to end it. So it's like they weren't the prettiest wins of all time, but the Rams were winning games. They were finding ways to win games at the end of the season. So it's not like they just totally fell off and now they just found some mojo.
Yeah,
I mean,
the real bad game was the Tennessee game.
And that was more in the middle of the season, that where they lost to the 49ers like badly, 31-10. They lost to the Titans like 2 weeks in a row, and then they lost to the Packers. They went 0-3. Didn't look particularly great in any of those things as December rolled around. And I think people kind of wrote them off then. But I mean, since December, they've been winning a lot of games. They've been looking like the best team in the league in these playoffs, and on paper, they look like the best team in the league. How they got here is just build the best team, and it's not always a guaranteed
did they
win.
Build the absolute best team? Maybe, maybe not, but none of that matters. Like they didn't need to play the Packers again.
Right.
And I would have my reservations about this team going into Green Bay against the Packers. I mean, I had my reservations about this team all postseason long, and I think it was easy to write them off.
But here they are, Sam.
But here they are. None of it matters. As I said with the Bengals, nothing before this actually matters. It doesn't matter how they got here. You can skip this segment if you want. Because here they are. It's the Super Bowl.
Hey, come on. Don't skip this. Don't skip my segment, man. But yes, you can.
At the
end of the day,
they're here. It's the Super Bowl. Nobody cares how you got here. It's all about this one game. Because it's the 20. It's again, like nobody cares that the 2007 Patriots went 16-0 because they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Okay, well I do.
Nobody cares that
people care because they lost the Super. They're like,
yes,
right.
But like funny. Nobody cares that
nothing else matters from here on forward because of what you've already done, because of what you've accomplished. You're here. You're here. You're here. Now go win the game. Go put your mark in NFL history.
You're 60 minutes from immortality.
Just get a couple breaks, man.
And you're a little bit more than 60 minutes away from my game pick. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back for the next segment. And welcome back to the PowerSports Power Hour Super Bowl special. I am Sam Fetterman. Michael Filipkowski will not be joining us on this segment, but Jordan Robinson will be.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. You've already heard Jake Circus talk about how they got here. Well, Michael, Jake, and I all talked about it. I think I probably talked the most about it. But we're now going to talk about the keys for the Bengals to win this game. The entire how they got here was, it doesn't matter how they got here. They're here. And now that they're here, they have 60 minutes in front of them and the chance to win the Lombardi Trophy, the chance to be immortal. But there's a big obstacle right in front of them. And directly in front of the Bengals' biggest weakness is that vaunted Rams pass rush.
Yes.
So, if you're Zach Taylor, what are you doing differently in this game that from all the other games that you've played this year? What are you bringing out in the Super Bowl?
So there's two ways to look at it. First is you play a little bit more conservative, a lot less empty, a lot more try to get the ball out to your playmakers type stuff, because playing empty is going to obviously be a reason that they get killed, but their offense obviously operates so much in empty. That's how they've worked all season. So it's one of those things where you try to live by the sword, die by the sword, or you change your game plan, which they did against Kansas City a little bit. They ran a little less empty, and they played a little more conservative until Burrow just said, "I'm going to have to go ball to the wall and save this team, this offense." So and that defense played well. So I think you can try that again. Try to utilize Mixon a little more to stop this D-line from pinning their ears back. Play a little more conservative. Get the ball into the hands of the weapons and let them make plays. Or you can do the second one, which is go empty, play how you've done before, and let Burrow just choose his matchup and go from there. So.
Yeah, and the thing about the Rams defense is, I mean, it's Aaron Donald. It's not just some great pass rush. It's arguably the greatest player to ever lace them up. And that obviously presents a challenge. And the Bengals are not going to play the way that the Patriots did in Super Bowl 53. They're not going to pound the ball 40 times with a fullback in the game the way the Patriots did. They're not going to rely on their offensive line to win. Now, obviously, that was multiple years ago. And the Rams also didn't have Von Miller. And they didn't have Jalen Ramsey either. But
they need to chip a lot more than they have been. That's for sure. They need to chip those guys.
And when we look at the Bengals, and I've been saying this for a long time, the Bengals don't need to be the better team the whole game to win, because they have been so great at generating explosive plays. Obviously, it's a lot harder to do so when you're facing so much too high, but and that's obviously what the Rams are going to show. But the Bengals have gotten better at that over the course of the year. And Burrow is so great at adjusting, and he knows what he's looking at. And I think you do have to get comfortable in this game. You can't play scared against Aaron Donald, but you can't be overly aggressive either. You have to find the right mix.
I think another thing we need to mention is the fact that they're going T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, they're going to have to ball out, because I'm pretty sure the Rams are going to try to have Ramsey shadow chase as they did last year more so than this year, because it's the biggest game of the year, and you're facing someone like Chase, and you want to have numbers to the side with Higgins and Boyd, because those two are aggressive. But Darius Williams, he was great last year, but he's been torched this postseason. So him versus T. Higgins is a terrible matchup. So you have to help him over there. So you got to see.
Yeah, the Rams. The odds are against the Bengals. The Rams are the much better team in this game. They have more talent, but the Bengals do have is that ability. Not quite to the level of the Chiefs, but the ability to score at any time from anywhere. And obviously, I've been saying this about the Kansas City Chiefs since 2018, more so than any offense in NFL history. The Chiefs have that. The Bengals aren't at that level, but they're not like they're definitely one of them.
They can put 21 points up in a flash, that's for sure, if they want to. But it's good. It's going to be a lot harder this game.
Obviously, because I mean, when you're facing when you're facing what might be the two best defensive players in the sport, I mean, you could make that argument. I probably wouldn't, but you could make that argument, and they're going to try and get their matchups. But the thing about Jamar Chase is he doesn't need to consistently win every rep to win the matchup.
Nope.
Because it's what he's been doing all year. He's been getting downfield, beating guys, and he's been winning after the catch. He's been winning before the catch. He's been winning it all the time, but he doesn't have to win every time.
No, he can take a slant to the house, and that's considered a win. Like
It is.
if you beat Ramsey on one slant and end up taking it to the house, you won the matchup. I don't care about the rest of that
because the way that Cincinnati plays, it's just get points. Doesn't matter how. Get the points.
Mm-hmm.
If that's
I do think T. Higgins is going to be the most productive receiver in this game, just because of the matchup. But they can just put up points at will, like we've been saying. So it doesn't even matter.
And the thing is, obviously, they're going to try and have Ramsey shadow chase. The next gen stats prop bets. I know you didn't see this because you haven't been on Twitter the last few days, but Seth Walder put out next gen stats props, and the over under on Ramsey shadowing chase was 61%.
Holy crap!
And I took the over. That seems insane, but hey, I took the over because I don't think the Rams are going to want to take any chances there.
Nope.
They don't want to take. They're not going to want to take chances there. They don't want to give Jamar Chase. Raheem Morris isn't dumb.
Yeah,
he knows.
And Raheem.
He knows that he wants to use his best player on their best player.
Yep. And we know how this Rams team operated last year.
Obviously not their best player, but their best non-Aaron Donald.
Yeah. Hold up. Yeah. Their second best defender. Right
their best DB on the best receiver.
Yeah. And the Rams have strayed away from that compared to last year, but it's the biggest game of the year, so it's different.
If we look at the Rams defense, their weakness is their linebacking core. It's not super strong. So maybe attacking with the tight ends. CJ Uzama, if he's going to play, I think he wants to play. I think he's very amped up about playing.
Yeah.
This is a guy that, he had 4 games over 60 yards, 2 games over 90 yards. And those 2 games over 90 yards were 595 and 2, 391 and 2. Like, he can be a player that really makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. I think if I'm the Rams too, I'd rather be beaten by CJ Uzoma than be beaten by Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and those guys. If you get my drift, right?
You want to make the worst link beat you. And out of the 5 main weapons for Cincinnati, Uzoma is the worst.
And that's great. He's a good tight end. That's just how insane that core is. You have Chase, Boyd, Higgins, Mixon, and Uzoma. That's an insane 5 right there.
And you have Joe Burrow, who makes it all work.
Yep.
You could have that core, and you could have a decent but not Joe Burrow quarterback, and you're not in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because that offensive line is bad and not.
And Joe Burrow knows how to manage that.
Yeah. He takes a lot of sacks, but he also gets out of so many plays.
If that 2019 LSU offense had a weakness, it was probably their O-line. They didn't have a weakness, but it was the weakest link of their offense.
And Joe Burrow just made shit happen because that's what made Joe Burrow special coming out.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow, special player in college, and he's been unbelievable this year in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think, definitely trust him more than you trust Matthew Stafford.
Because, I do.
Stafford. But, Burrow has been
consistent.
He's been fairly consistent over the course of the year, and especially over the last however many weeks of the season. Really, since they lost to the Chargers.
And he wasn't particularly bad that game, right? He had that drop.
He wasn't,
taste.
But since then he's
been great. Yeah.
And I think that the Bengals are gonna trust him. I know it's first Super Bowl, but it's everyone's first Super Bowl.
But put it on the young man's shoulders who's helped. I don't want to say carry because that weaponry is insane. but has elevated this team to a level to the point where you can make the Super Bowl. You gotta
Put it
trust
all
that
on Evan
guy.
McPherson.
Oh yeah, man.
And that's the other thing that you have. You have a kicker that you can trust. And
Oh yeah. That's valuable.
I don't think it can be overstated how important that is in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. Because
being able to say I can get to the 35 about and get 3 points confidently is important.
because that's the thing, like last year, the Chiefs, there were a lot of reasons the Chiefs lost that game last year.
Mm-hmm.
Special teams was one of them. Especially the punting. I don't know how many people remember it, but the Chiefs punter, Townsend, had an awful game in the Super Bowl last year.
I don't think anybody remembers because everybody was focusing on how god awful that O-line was.
But there were like multiple shanked punts in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
It was bad. Like really bad. And penalties. The Chiefs lost the game in a lot of ways, but special teams was a big reason for that as well.
Yeah.
And I think that the Bengals with Evan McPherson have an advantage there. Obviously, the Rams have Johnny Hecker. They have the advantage in the punting game. But in the kicking game, Evan McPherson, I mean, this honestly might be second or third best kicker in the league.
He missed a couple kicks to start the year, but he's been great ever since then. And he can make kicks from anywhere. So
and like if you saw like he posted a TikTok like after he got drafted, it was like him hitting a bottle cap.
Yeah, he's been great this year. That's one of the times
for 12 in the postseason.
He's had, how many 50 yards has he had? He had one versus the Titans.
This season?
He had 2. No, I was just thinking in the playoffs.
He was I don't know about in the playoffs, but hold on, in the playoffs, he is 3 for 3 from 50 plus.
That is insane.
And in the regular season, he went 9 for 11 from 50 plus.
That is very valuable.
This is a guy that like Joe Burrow. If you start a drive at your own 25-yard line, and all you need is 40 yards.
Yeah, and that matters.
That is a thrower to the chase, run with Mixon, a couple with Mixon, and like that's all you need really.
Yeah. And now, I mean, you don't always want to just run.
You don't need,
but that's matters.
Now, obviously, you're not beating the Rams with field goal.
Oh yeah, because that Rams offense is
an advantage to know.
Yeah.
And the Rams offense isn't a pushover, and we're gonna get into the defense for the Bengals in a moment. But when we look at the Bengals, the ability to know, all right, we're at the 35-yard line. We can get points here no matter what. Why don't we do this on the third down? Because we're comfortable kicking on fourth.
Yeah.
And then all right, to move on to the defense. This is a concern, obviously, because the Bengals dancing through the raindrops is a light way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is fine. Like, I guess, like
it's been pretty dang good.
It's
been good. It's good. It's gotten better.
Yeah, but I really think that they played one really bad half last week and one solid half where they came up really timely plays. I think there's a lot
Patrick
more.
Mahomes definitely turning into Sam Darnold and help that defense out a little bit. But
yeah, I was about to say, I definitely thought there was a lot more Chiefs forgetting how to play football than Bengals being ridiculously good in the second half.
Yeah, but I mean that pass rush played better. They got more pressure and they started dropping. I think that Hubbard spy is what it was on a couple of snaps, and they started dropping 8 in coverage, which obviously helped him just confuse Mahomes. But it's a solid defense, right?
Yeah, I hear all the stuff. Oh, they have this many tipped interceptions. Who cares?
Mhm.
Here
Who
they are.
cares?
It's a
Yeah,
Super Bowl. I don't care how
luck
many.
matters.
Yeah, like you could
They,
be.
I'm sorry, just from experience. The Eagles made the Super Bowl because Keanu Neal, a ball hit his knee and
Yeah,
just happened to hit his hands. Like, luck
The
matters.
Patriots made the Super Bowl because D Ford happened to line up a couple inches offsides,
Besides,
and
and then they won the coin toss.
the Patriots made the Super Bowl because the referee happened to blow the whistle on that Miles Jack play.
Yeah.
The Patriots won a Super Bowl, well, because Kyle Shanahan decided to be an idiot.
And Devontae Freeman's controller disconnected.
Yeah, and the Patriots won a Super Bowl because the because the Seahawks decided to throw the ball at the 1 yard line.
You're
The
man.
Patriots. I mean, I'm so familiar with this stuff. The Patriots had like however many missed field goals that were against us. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like luck
But
matters.
you know
And
what? Here we are. It's the Super Bowl. The Bengals.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you got here.
it
Obviously,
matters. All it matters is you win. All it matters is you win the game. And
Yeah.
my thing with the tip picks, it's not like they're like, oh, the receiver dropped them and it went off his hand and someone picked him. No, it's like this Bengals defense has been contesting balls and someone just happens to be there. Like,
yeah.
like
And
the
not
Von
just
Bell-
that, they dropped the pick 6 in overtime anyway.
yeah.
And all the memes of 13 seconds and the Chiefs lost the game and yada yada yada. But like
That was a great
the
play
game
by Justin
wasn't
Wilson.
over.
Yeah.
They still had to drive down the field. But the thing about the Bengals is make Matthew Stafford's passing, like that pass that Tart dropped. You know who's not dropping that?
Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates.
No,
If I were Jesse Bates watching Matthew Stafford film, I would be licking my chops because
he's going to give you a couple opportunities, most likely.
yeah, he's going to make.
That's just how Matthew Stafford is. You live by Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, you live by both teams. Both teams have these. I mean, Joe Burrow threw 14 interceptions, but like they were, it didn't feel like he did.
Yeah, and a lot of those interceptions toned down a lot as the season went on. So,
but like that's still something like you look at and say, you know what? I still trust my guy. He threw 14 picks. I still trust my guy. Matthew Stafford, he threw 17 picks. I still trust him. If you're Sean McVay.
Oh yeah, you have to trust Matthew Stafford.
You can't not trust him. And you know what?
He's the reason you got to a Super Bowl. Well, not the sole reason, but upgrading him over Goff is the reason you made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and if you're the Bengals, you know what? You know who else you're trusting? You're also trusting Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
Because you can't just obviously you can't just like play him straight up. You have to have something prepared for him.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's blitz packages, too high coverages.
I wouldn't blitz him for real.
Well, whatever it is, they have to have something ready for him because he's not just gonna. You can't count on him straight up losing the game, but you can count on him making a couple plays that might lose the game, and you have to take advantage of that.
Yep.
And how do you guard Cooper Kupp is like another big thing.
Oh, and not only do you have to deal with Cooper Kupp, you also have Odell coming in backside, who you don't want to leave him one-on-one either, per se.
I just think that if you're the Bengals in this game, you have to you just have to keep going with what you had on defense there because you're not going to. Again, if they're going to win this game, they're still probably not going to be the better team the whole game.
Yeah.
And the key to the game for the Bengals, like I hate to say it, but the key to the game for the Bengals is they just need to have the same luck that they've had.
Mm-hmm.
And like luck is a skill sometimes.
Yeah, that Von Bell interception, that was quote unquote lucky, but that was also an insane play by Jesse Bates, right?
Yeah.
That
And
interception from Eli Apple made, that play that he made in the Titans game, that was a tip, but that was also a great play by Eli Apple.
just as luck is a skill, and the Bengals have the skill of luck. They've had it all year. And you know what? When you have one of the best kickers in the league, when you have a quarterback that does things that doesn't look like that he does things that don't even really make sense sometimes. Not, I mean, they make different nonsense than the other quarterback in this game.
Yeah.
I just love how it's two completely different ways. And obviously, everyone's looking at the Rams like they're Goliath, but they're really not Goliath.
Yeah. They have the quarterback who will lose you a game as much as they'll win you a game. We all know how much I love Matt Stafford. But
I feel like people just think. I mean, not a lot of people thought the Rams were going to make the Super Bowl at the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's because Matt Stafford was in a deep slump, right? He was awful the last couple months of the season.
I think people seem to overlook just like the Rams. They're good, but we don't have the best teams in the Super Bowl.
No, we don't.
If the best teams made the Super Bowl, it would be Packers and Chiefs, or Bucks and Chiefs,
or
the Bills.
We just have or we have the AFC divisional round here. But
I mean, the thing is, I really hate to say it, the Bengals they can't. As long as the Bengals don't lose themselves this game, they can give themselves a chance. And I think there's a better chance that the Rams lose this game than the Bengals lose this game. There's also a better chance that the Rams win this game
than the Bengals win.
The game is going to be dictated by the Rams, and that's fun.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see this game turn out like how Arizona did, where they just punch them not exactly like that, but they just dominate them whole game and they win by a couple of scores. Or this is a really close game, which is what I expect it to be. But it's a fun one.
But the Bengals know that. The Bengals know that. Zach Taylor, as much as I criticize him as a coach, he's not a dumb human being.
Nope.
He knows that this game is going to come down to a couple plays, whether they execute or not at some point in the game. He's got to keep his team in it. Got to keep his team involved. Mm-hmm. They're going to get beat in the mouth, but you know what? If you get beat in the mouth on the way to Lombardi, it's a better story.
Yep.
And you know what? Think of explaining the Cincinnati Bengals winning the Super Bowl to your grandkid in 60 years. Think of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even explaining it to me right now doesn't really make that much sense. But that's what makes it make so much sense. And
they're not supposed to be here, and they are.
The Bengals in this game, all they need to do is hit on a couple big plays on offense, and they can win.
And hope you get
Bengals
even
there's a chance that the Bengals hit on an explosive play on the first drive, get a turnover, and hit on another one, and the game's over.
Yeah.
And they could get outplayed the rest of the way, but still win 27-17 because they hit on a couple explosive plays.
Yep. That's the greatness of being explosive offense.
Obviously, you don't want to rely on that if you're the Bengals. You don't want to. Ideally, in an ideal world, you're not. But they have to. And do you have any last words?
I just go into the game plan a little bit. What I think is going to happen. I think they're probably going to play either robber to have someone in the middle to take away those option outs for Cup, or they're going to try to bracket and those backside digs from Odell, or they're just going to try to bracket them. But yeah, I think this is going to be a fun game. I think the Bengals can win this game despite being the less talented team for sure, and the huge disadvantage for their O-line. But when you have Joe Burrow, you have a chance. That's all I have to say. When you have Jamar Chase, you have a chance.
When you have Evan McPherson, you have a chance.
When you have T. Higgins, you have a chance. When you have
The
those that
Bengals have enough top end talent to make it work. They don't have the depth on this roster. They don't.
yeah. But I mean,
But they
what you
have
have
enough top end talent for it to work.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think we're gonna
That's
have
what
a good
matters.
game.
Yeah.
You'll hear my pick later in the show, but this is gonna be a real fun one. Thanks, Jordan, for joining us. And the next segment for the keys to the game for the Rams. Welcome back to the third annual PowerSports Power Hour Super Bowl special. I got my Aaron Donald Rams jersey on because we're going to talk about the Rams' keys to winning this game. Michael Filipkowski, obviously, back with me right here. And we're here with Scott Nance as well.
Hey.
So, the Rams are pretty talented, to say the least.
Understatement.
Comparably to the Cincinnati Bengals. They've got decent bit more talent, and I think that what we talk about for the Bengals, it's can they make the big plays? Can they make that happen? For the Rams, just play their game. Don't make anything don't do things they don't have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, I just think they just need to stay in rhythm offensively and see which version of Matthew Stafford they're going to get and do everything they can to try to make sure that they get the better version of Matthew Stafford. They can do that by establishing the run game very well early and not force and just getting those quick passes to Cooper Kupp and taking advantage of mismatches that they can find throughout the field.
Yeah, the Rams have the advantage, obviously, in personnel with pretty much everywhere on the field. They're going to have personnel advantages, and they have to take advantage of that, because if they don't, and I think it's more likely that like the Bengals get outplayed but still win than the Rams get outplayed and still win. But obviously it's probably also more likely that the Rams outplay the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams have to just shut everything down on defense. They cannot let Jamar Chase get going. They cannot let Joe Burrow get in rhythm. They have to disrupt the rhythm.
I think the main man for doing that's got to be Aaron Donald, right?
This man right here, number 99.
That's who I'm looking at.
He's the best player in the world.
And I think what I see the game plan for the Rams to be, and it's maybe I'm dumbing it down too much, but essentially on defense, you're going to give up points. So you're probably going to give up points, but make sure that you get consistent pressure on Joe Burrow and try to contain him as much as possible. And you have the defensive line to do that. You have Aaron Donald, you have Von Miller, you have Floyd, you have guys who can get to the quarterback. And so I think that your secondary is probably the weaker part of your team. Not necessarily Jalen Ramsey, but maybe
are the weak part of that.
But the linebackers and you got some young safeties. So I think that getting pressure on the quarterback is most important. And then offensively, like as you said, keep it in rhythm. Make sure you're moving the ball, moving the chains, right? Like run, like a healthy dose of running and passing the ball. And I think if they're able to do that and be consistent with it and limit Stafford's like turnovers to 0, hopefully, like they should win. I think.
I think that they can win in a lot of ways, but I think that there's more ways for the Rams to win than for the Bengals. If the Bengals win, it's probably going to be with explosive plays. If the Rams win, it could be they completely shut down the Bengals. It could be they go off on offense themselves. I think there's more ways for the Rams team to win this game than with the Bengals. That being said, you have to commit to, on both sides of the ball, you have to commit your resources to stopping the best players on the field, which when the Rams are on defense, you have to commit your resources to stopping Jamar Chase. If you're going to let CJ Uzomah beat you, let CJ. If I am the Rams, Raheem Morris, I'd rather let CJ Uzomah beat me than Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Back to the way that back for the Rams defensively, I feel like you have to stop the easy things because you have Jalen Ramsey for Jamar Chase. You have the easy mismatch on the offensive on the line play down in the trenches. Aaron Donald is going to be disruptive. Von Miller will be disruptive, and Greg Gaines, a very underrated player in the NFL, is going to get the draw, take advantage of those single team matches that Aaron Donald's going to give him. You're going to dominate up front. I think that probably the biggest key to the game for the Rams defensively is how will they stop Tyler Boyd over the middle of the field, because they're not going to have the Bengals aren't going to have much time to throw the ball. So they're going to do a lot of quick passes over the middle of the field to Tyler Boyd, I think, because the weakest part of the Rams defense is the linebackers. So you attack them with Tyler Boyd coming from the slot. So you do that, and it depends on how the linebackers will play at the middle of the field.
And I also think that you got to shut down the screen game. You can't give any easy yardage for them. And we know the Rams are going to play a lot of too high. It's their entire identity. It's been their MO on that defensive side of the ball. And the ability, they can still get to the quarterback at a high level playing too high coverages, and they can trust their DBs. The issue, obviously, the linebackers, but I think the Rams can win this game even if the linebackers don't play well. The Rams can win this game.
I agree.
The Rams can win this game in a lot of ways. They have a lot of mismatches, but the ways that they can lose the game, they don't want to get beat by Jamar Chase. You don't want to get beat by the screen game. And again, they are going to have most personnel advantages across the board. They have to realize that there's certain ways that the Bengals are going to try and beat them. They have to shut that down. And then to the offensive side of the ball, Matthew Stafford has been great this postseason. He has. That pass Jaquiski Tart dropped. You know who's not dropping that?
Jesse Bates or anyone on that Bengals defense.
Jesse Bates is not dropping that.
Right, and that's kind of what I've been thinking about the Rams offense recently, because the Rams have a great offense. Don't get me wrong. I think Matthew Stafford's a really talented quarterback, and he really can make a lot of – he pretty much, I think, can make every single throw.
He really can. He really can, and the issue with that is sometimes that gets in his head.
Sometimes it's too much, right? And I think
here's my thing. Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. I think that he's been around the league long enough, even though he's not played in the Super Bowl. I think he's been around the league long enough to know like what a big game is, and obviously Burrow just has like it in him with big games. But like just Stafford, we haven't always seen it, but I think he's been around long enough to understand to understand the pressure and stay calm, stay in his element, and just be good Matthew Stafford. But there's obviously, again, all it's going to take for the Bengals to win this game is a couple of plays. For the Rams, they're probably going to have to control. The Rams are probably going to control this game.
Right. I know. I think I agree with that. I think that their offense, I think, is more dynamic, and will they be scoring every drive? Definitely not. But I think that they do have weapons. They have Cooper Kupp. They have OBJ. They have Van Jefferson, right? And they have Cam Akers. They have Darrell Henderson just came off the IR. So they have running backs. They have like a whole group of guys. They have a great O-line.
Not just that, they have Sean McVay, one of the best offensive minds in football.
Exactly. Right. And he made Jared Goff look good. So,
the coaching gap there is going to be a really big benefactor for the Rams, because Sean McVay, I trust 100% to devise, to get a way to make this run game good, to see what's going on in this game and adjust on the fly. Versus Zach Taylor, I'm not as confident in him. He's probably an average head coach in this league, and just
I feel like that's even pushing it.
Exactly, like average at best. So when you take a top 3 coach against a top 20 coach,
top 32 coach,
exactly, and it's just a big difference there.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
we
in
just
the,
look at
yeah.
the Rams, and again, I'm gonna keep saying it. The LA Rams, for them to win this game, they can do it in a lot of ways. The way they can't win this game is if they're punched early. They're not going to win this game if they get down into a big hole early, which is possible. You
actually
could think about
disagree.
explosive play, turnover, explosive play. Boom, it's 14-0. They're not going to get out. I don't think they get out of that.
I disagree. I think that the Rams have come back this entire postseason. Well, not this entire postseason, but they've come back in some games, and throughout the season they've come back. I don't think it's an issue of coming back or not. I think the issue for the Rams with me is I think that they have the players who can make the plays. But my issue is I feel like the Rams this season and this postseason haven't played super well. Like I get it. Like they played a really good half against the Bucks. That second half was terrible, right? They played at the end against the Niners.
I feel like
the Niners were great.
mentally on the field, the Rams don't really they don't seem to have the mental toughness that the Bengals on the field do. Although when it comes to off the field, they have the much better coach. I just think that the Rams were built as a machine.
Right.
And if they're going to win, they're going to win by being a machine. They're going to win by dominating, not necessarily dominating the scoreboard, but dominating the game flow.
Dominating time of possession and stuff.
And
yeah, that's key.
For the Bengals, and if the Bengals are going to win this game, they're probably going to win this game within those constrictions. But the Rams probably are going to dominate game flow. They need to dominate game flow and mentally stay in it, because they can't just they're technically the Goliath here, but they're not as Goliath as we make it seem.
I mean, a couple of turnovers I think would help too, right? I think that's key, because we know the Bengals are. I mean, they don't make a lot of mistakes. Let's be honest. Offensively, they're actually a pretty sound team, which is, kind of surprising. But they've been a pretty sound team recently. I know Joe Burrow threw that interception in the AFC Championship game, but that was one of the best plays on a ball on an interception that I've seen all season. The Bengals take care of the ball, so I don't think you should for the Rams. You can't rely on, hey, we need a turnover to get back in this game.
The Rams are the team that turns the ball over more.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, because Cam Akers fumbled a lot. Now, will he fumble as much? Probably not. But Matthew Stafford, I have that feeling like if he's making those throws, those throws that are maybe interceptable, like who knows? Like if he's making some of those, riskier throws, like that is not the method to win a Super Bowl. Right. And that's what concerns me, because if he's in that mindset of, hey, I'm going to let sling it, like that's concerning. He needs to be conservative with the ball and err on the side of caution rather on, than on, show.
For the Rams, it's 60 minutes of they have to win all 60 minutes. The Bengals can win 3 minutes and come out with the win.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams, obviously not like, I'm not saying the Rams can't like come back from a 23-17. They can win on a game-winning drive. Yeah, obviously. But like just theoretically in the sense of in the trenches, on the outside, in the backfield, the Rams they just need to not make mistakes and they need to be their best versions of themselves for the whole game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're always trying to avoid those mistakes and being too cautious, then that could also bite them in the ass as well.
Exactly. And that's the thing with Matthew Stafford. It's live by Stafford, die by Stafford.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I feel like
they have to live by Stafford. They cannot just go out there and Jared Goff the game.
Yeah, no, they traded for Stafford for a reason. They traded for him because because Sean McVay doesn't need to play with him like a puppet every single time. He can do it. He can do his own things. Yes, they have to stay in rhythm offensively. They have to run the ball. They have to dominate the time of possession, but allow him to make the throws that he can make. Allow him to make those tight
Right.
window throws, the throws on the sideline.
Exactly.
Let him do what he can do that Jared Goff couldn't do.
And that's
And
what
the
comes
thing
down
is,
to
but if he
scheme, I
can't,
think.
if that isn't working, they're screwed.
Exactly. It's which Matthew Stafford are you going to get? Are you going to get the
And it
Matthew
comes-
Stafford that you got earlier in the season at a couple times? Like, it was going into
Because the run game is okay. Like, it's not that good.
It can be good, though, I feel like.
It's not that good. Like, let's not mince words. It's not that good.
It will be decent against the Bengals, but it's not going to be the reason why the Rams will win this game.
The
Right?
Rams
Let's
need to
make it clear.
the Rams need to get the best out of Matthew Stafford for the whole game. No lapses.
And it comes down to scheme. Like, you can't be scheming up certain types of plays, right? Because, I mean, again, Super Bowl, right? But I feel like, with Sean McVay, like, he's got to have some plays where, hey, like, this player's getting open. Like, he's getting open on this play, and you got to make that throw. And it's not a crazy throw, but, it's not an easy one. And that's the type of thing that, there's intermediate routes, I think, that Stafford's got to be looking for. Because, you can't limit him. You just have to scheme it in a way where he can make those big-time throws, but he's also not being forced to make throws that are bad.
Yeah, let Stafford be Stafford on the big time moments, on the third downs, on all that, but also let McVay do his own thing and keep the rhythm of the offense. It has to be a healthy balance of the two.
Be all of the best versions of yourself. And
Exactly.
I know that sounds like a lot.
That sounds like the obvious thing. Be the best version of yourself in the Super Bowl.
But it really does sound obvious. But like this game, the way that the Rams are going to win, there's not one way. Meanwhile, for the Bengals, there's more or less, it's going to be with explosive plays and or turnovers. For the Rams, they could also get explosive plays. But they could also win the game. Rams can win in more ways. That's why it's so much vaguer and harder to pick out one specific key for the Rams.
Right. No, I agree.
Aaron Donald, I mean, he's Aaron Donald. He's gonna be Aaron Donald. You know that he's gonna do his thing. You know that they're gonna do their thing. But it's the question of, can everybody step up? You're only as good as your 53rd guy, and while the Rams are pretty deeper than I'd say deeper than the Bengals. The Bengals are still a dangerous foe.
I would actually disagree with the deeper part. I would say of the two teams, I would say the Bengals may not have those superstar players or nearly as many, but I would say if you go mostly position by position, like I like the Bengals defense overall. I think their secondary, I like their linebackers a little bit better than I do.
Well, yeah, I'd take the Bengals linebackers, but I'd take the Rams secondary. I'd take the Rams D line. I'll also just, that doesn't really matter because the Rams D line isn't going against the Bengals D line; it's going against the Bengals O line, and you have to take advantage of your mismatches. Play to who you are. Don't try to change anything, but don't over exaggerate who you are.
Right.
Play the game.
I think that a key matchup between two guys that we might need to see is between Darius Williams and T. Higgins. Like, they're going to probably try to abuse that because of the size difference. Like, I think T. Higgins has like half a foot or something on Darius Williams. So Darius Williams is going to have to play tough because Ramsey's going to be on Jamar Chase because Jamar Chase, they need to limit him.
And they're still good. And
Ramsey, I think,
still going to look his way.
100%. And I think that we might get a key turnover from Burrow because of that. He's been so reliant on Chase this season. Like, Burrow's a great quarterback. I love Joe Burrow. But at the same time, Jamar Chase
loves Jamar Chase.
Exactly. And he is going to still throw him with Jalen Ramsey. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Jalen Ramsey interception this game because Jamar Chase is still going to get his targets, and Jalen Ramsey's going to do his thing. So he's going to get thrown to when he shouldn't be thrown to, and Jalen Ramsey's going to be the one to capitalize.
And the thing is, if that's how it goes, and they end up getting that, they end up getting a pick there, maybe it scares Burrow off. Maybe he goes right back to it, and you can't. And you have to keep the game on your terms. The Rams are the better team. They need to make the game played on their terms. And anything else to say before we end it?
No, I'm with you. I agree. I think that's I think we covered. I mean, it's not super. I mean, I know it sounds.
It's not
crazy.
complicated. It's
I don't
really
feel like
not
it's complicated. And I think the Rams, they play their game and they succeed at it. That's a winning formula. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Just play their game. Don't try to do too much.
All right, and thank you so much. And the next segment, you'll see it. And welcome back to the Super Bowl special. I'm Sam Fetterman, the third annual PowerSports Super Bowl special. And for the second straight year, Noah is on for the prop bet segment. I mean, hey, it's essentially your segment now.
I guess it is.
Yeah.
There's been some super interesting lines that I've seen.
Yeah. I'm
crazy.
I'm on FanDuel. Okay.
Should I pull up just so we have the same odds?
Actually, no. I'm going to start on DraftKings because they have one thing that FanDuel doesn't. Super Bowl MVP.
FanDuel doesn't have Super Bowl MVP?
At least I couldn't find it.
I guarantee you they do.
Let me just make sure.
FanDuel and whatever DraftKings are going to have the most.
Yeah, I know. I can no longer find that. Wonderful. Where did the odds go?
One second. My dad's calling me.
Where did the odds go? I can't find them.
Hi?
What the heck just happened?
Okay, I'm back.
I can no longer find the MVP odds.
Here, just I can pull up odds on my phone.
I'm gonna go on my phone right now.
Yeah, you go on your phone, and then we can pop into here.
This is beautiful that we're wasting time on the Super Bowl special here.
Are you recording this, and is it going like last year, or is it just?
Yes, we're recording it. All right, let's not start with MVP. Let's go to FanDuel. All right, FanDuel.
Mm-hmm.
So, if this game plays out, I have not revealed my pick yet. That comes later in the show. I have officially made my pick.
I've had my pick since the game's ended.
So I take it that means you think the Rams are going to win.
No.
Really? It's interesting because my first instinct was to go with the Rams, and I've debated that a lot for the last 2 weeks, and eventually you'll see if I stuck with that. We can't. Let's not get into that.
It's the Matt Stafford thing for me.
If the Rams win this game, how do you think they win it?
I think they win it by 2 ways. One, either just the pressure's too much, which is very possible. The pressure's too much. Burrow can't take it. The offensive line can't take it. Isaiah Prince just gets absolutely railed by Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller. That is the Rams' key to winning. They need that. Or the other way they win is Jalen Ramsey, Darius Williams, there and their mismatched safeties somehow can shut down the Bengals' passing attack.
So you think that the Rams win with defense?
I think that the Rams need to win with defense. I just like their
So
offense.
what
Good,
is
but
your favorite? What is your favorite bet?
my favorite bet, like just anything.
If the Rams are to win this game,
Oh, if the Rams, which I don't think is happening, but if the Rams are to win this game, my favorite bet is probably under on the whatever the line is for the Bengals score.
interesting.
Which
Now,
I'm- which
if
I'm
the
doing-
Rams are to win this game,
Mhm.
I think I agree that it comes with the pressure. I think if the Rams are to win this game, the Aaron Donald Super Bowl MVP odds, whatever they are, I think it's plus 1,800. That's going to hit. If the Rams end up winning this game, Aaron Donald is going to be MVP.
I still don't love the Aaron Donald MVP because yes, Donald's like the number one, but like I don't.
I think if the Rams win this game, he probably ends up with like 3 sacks.
Yeah, but like it could also be Floyd. It could be Von Miller. Like if Stafford puts up 300 passing yards and 2 TDs, they'll give it to him unless Donald has an absolutely wild game.
Not really, because
Yes.
Donald is the face of the franchise.
If Donald has a sack and a half and 2 tackles for loss, and Stafford has 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns.
But like, say Stafford throws a pick in that.
I still think they give it to Stafford. Or if Kupp gets 150 yards, 10 catches, and
Well, Kupp's not getting 150 yards, 10 catches. I'll say that. I think people are going a little bit too crazy on receiver odds. I think a lot of unders are going to hit.
I see. What I haven't really been looking at those lines. I don't know why, but it's not letting me.
I think it's going to be a more defensive game than people realize. I just don't think as many points are going to be scored. You got to turn that shit off.
I know. Here we go. Boom.
I just think that there won't be a safety. I don't think there's going to be a defensive touchdown.
Oh, you know what I also like?
What?
But I've been seeing the odds might be different on every site, but placing a bet on Rams first score, Rams field goal, Bengals touchdown. You're guaranteed to make money as long as the Rams don't score a touchdown for the first score.
I think it's going to be a field goal. I don't know who, but I think it's going to be a field goal. I think there's going to be 2 interceptions in this game. Maybe 3. I just think that both offenses aren't going to play particularly elite. And I'm definitely taking the over on interceptions. It's set at over 1.5. Both are minus 110. I'm going to hit the over there. What do you think?
Interceptions are just so fluky.
But that's the thing. Like, if you look at the quarterbacks in this game, 14 interceptions Joe Burrow threw. Matthew Stafford threw 17. Those are 2 of like the top 5 marks in the league. Like, something's got to give here.
Yeah, but also like Burrow had like one of the highest turnover worthy play into turnover rates.
Yeah, but Stafford is like that too, and Jalen Ramsey is the best corner in the league. And you know he's going to take his shots with Chase.
I know,
It's possible. It's very possible that Burrow throws multiple,
but
honestly. I wouldn't be entirely shocked if both quarterbacks threw 2 picks.
Oh, I know. I can't get FanDuel odds because I'm in Massachusetts. That's not working.
That makes sense.
I'll pull up. I think Fliff has the same odds as FanDuel.
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't be entirely shocked if both quarterbacks threw multiple picks.
I mean, yeah, but like it's just interceptions are
like
such a
I'm not
big
hitting
bet
on that. I'm not hitting that bet. but it's entirely possible. Player to record the most tackles. I don't know about that.
Most tackles, like it's gonna be like Jermaine Pratt or something. Like
Team to record first sack. Not really. Ooh. What will happen first? A sack or a touchdown?
ooh. I kind of like the odd. Okay.
The odds on sack are plus 100. You know what that means? I'm taking that.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
I would hit that all day.
Just because also, like, the defenses aren't going to be tired yet. There's going to be some exotic, like stunts and blitzes and schemes coming
Totally.
out.
You've had 2 weeks to prepare.
Yeah. Like, the players are like, everyone's back. Everyone's healthy. Even Daryl Henderson and Sebastian Joseph Day are back. Or they're not back. They were activated off of IR, but.
Yeah, and like that's my thing.
Mhm.
I think the game is going to have a lot more defense than some people think.
Yeah, I do too, but I just don't know if it's.
And I think Joe Burrow, if he's going to throw a touchdown to Chase, it's not going to come in the first quarter, and it's not going to come in the fourth quarter.
Okay, well, that's just like no. Like,
It's a game flow type thing for me.
You have no way of actually like.
Look, does anyone have any way of knowing this shit?
No one has any way of knowing it.
Exactly, that's my thing.
But like then like you just are saying things to like.
But I've been saying this as a game flow thing to myself.
Yeah,
I think that he's gonna get settled in eventually, and I just can't envision a Jamar Chase fourth quarter touchdown.
like you say that, but it's just like
I know I know you're gonna tell me that it is ridiculous, but like I agree that it's ridiculous, but it's still something that my brain thinks is the scenario. Now I don't know if it's going to happen.
Have you seen the Chris Collinsworth prop bets?
I have not.
Over under 5.5 now times Chris Collinsworth says, now here's a guy.
I'm taking the under, honestly.
It's
I think
125 on the over.
I'm going to take the under. Here's why. I think it's an overrated phrase. I think he doesn't use it as much as people think he does.
No. Well, one that, but I'm guessing the line comes from like real numbers from games this season.
Do you actually think people have sat through, watched every single game, seen how much he says, now here's a guy?
I think they've sat through a few games because they need to make the line. A
good point.
Line. Like maybe not all 17 weeks of Sunday Night Football, but would not surprise me if they had an intern watch 4 or 5 games. Or maybe they have like, I don't know, maybe like they have like logs of like every like the closed caption logs and they just command F it.
Ooh, that's actually pretty sick.
And they just command F every single one.
Now here's a guy who has closed captioning logs.
No, but like I'm sure he says like about 5.1 or 5.2 times a game.
Right. I'm gonna go to something here that I saw on Twitter today, and I think you're gonna love.
I would just say I would go under on this one just because I think he's had so much time to prepare. Like they're gonna have like scripted stuff.
All right. Here's something that I found on Twitter that I think you're going to absolutely love. Next gen stats props.
What? Is it like over like 2 times they show like the moving play?
No. Like actual next gen stats props from Seth.
Is there a catch with like over
all right, here we go.
Probability?
Which quarterback will record a higher completion percentage over expectation?
I guarantee you it is Joe Burrow.
I'm actually going to text this to you, and you can play it. I'm going to go with Burrow.
Well, I mean, like, if you... Wait, who made this?
Seth.
Oh.
All right. Who will reach the fastest ball carrier speed? Chase? No. I
No.
can't say that. He's going to be a deep threat.
No,
I
but like,
mean, Mixon is the obvious answer.
yeah, but Mixon is also like that's why the point system.
But like,
Oh, and so
it would
all these.
also require him getting into free space.
Yeah, I don't hate the Samaje Perine.
I don't hate the Van Jefferson.
I don't either. But just is Van like gonna have like open field to run ever?
That's my pick. I'm taking Van Jefferson. All right.
You would take Van.
Oh, this one is funny. Who
Hi.
will record a higher pass block win rate against the spread? Andrew Whitworth is -10 on Isaiah Prince. Who are you taking?
I'm gonna take Andrew Whitworth.
Come on, like it has to be.
What Adam?
All right, here's another good one.
Because I know it's space stats.
I'll help you later.
Here's another good one. Who will allow the most yards as the nearest defender?
The most yards is the nearest. Wait, okay, 1 second. I'm taking. Oh wait a second. It's a 20%. Hold up. Go back to the Whitworth.
It's -10.
It's a 20% swing though.
No, that's not how it works. That's
Yes, it
not how a
is.
spread works.
But it's not a spread.
It is. It says against the spread.
But it's not a spread one.
It is a spread.
Okay, whatever. This doesn't look like a spread to me, but
It is. It's literally the dictionary definition of a spread.
okay. It's percent is not a spread, but
That's what pass block win rate is, though. It's like
I
instead
know,
of
but
points, it's percentage.
I know.
All
I
right.
know.
I'm going to pick a Wouzier. I just feel like it's good value here.
I think it's gonna be Eric Weddle.
No, it will not be a safety.
Will it really not be a safety though with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins? Like,
No, it's not. Just, I don't think it's going to be.
or you know who's actually a good one?
Who?
Ramsey.
I feel like if I say directly yes or no to that, it reveals my game pick.
I think I know who you're picking for the game.
Like, I'm not 100% sure if Ramsey is going to allow the most yards, but I think there's a chance.
I think there's a chance that, like, Sean McVay might have the genius brain idea, or at least he thinks it's the genius brain idea, of just knocking out Jamar Chase with Ramsey and hoping the rest of the defense can get Higgins. And if that's the case,
And that's the next line.
is it actually?
On what percentage of Jamar Chase's routes will Jalen Ramsey line up opposite of him?
I'm taking over.
I'm taking the under.
I'm taking over.
I don't see it being that high.
Oh no! So I never officially gave my pick, but I'm gonna go.
No.
I'm talking about
You're sending it in. You're sending it in.
I'm talking about Max ball carrier. I never like clicked it.
Oh.
Max ball carrier. I gotta go with Chase.
All right.
I don't hate Van, but I gotta go with Chase.
All right. On what percentage of dropbacks will the Rams run a too high coverage? Gotta take the over here, right?
Yeah, you gotta take the over.
All right. Which kicker will average a shorter distance from the middle on their field goal attempts?
I'm just gonna go with Matt Gay because the points are worth more.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure there's some data that there's like a slight lean to like Gay, or to McPherson, but I don't.
All right. What will Aaron Donald's pass rush win rate be? I'm taking the over. Like, I can't take the under on an Aaron Donald line ever. Most yak over expectation. This has to be Jamar.
I'm gonna go with Joe Mixon.
Actually, I'm taking Cup.
I'm gonna go with Joe Mixon.
I'm taking Cup.
I've been watching. I mean, just something I've noticed in the Bengals games recently. I don't know how much of this is over expectation, but Joe Mixon has been getting a ton of yak.
Anyway. Who will record more rush yards over expectation, Joe Mixon or Cam Akers?
Joe Mixon.
It's the points here.
I know it's the points.
I'm gonna play the points.
When you got a freebie, you got to take a freebie.
It's 5 points that I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna try and get. Also,
like Akers could be like 1/3 of the carries.
But Akers could also be like 6 carries, 58 yards on like 40 yards over expectation. Like he could break off like a 30-yard run and get like 2 carries the rest of the game. Mixon, I count on them consistently pounding with him. That's why I'm taking Akers. What will Matt Stafford's average time to throw be? I'm taking the under.
Yeah, McVay is going to try and prevent Stafford mistakes, and Stafford mistakes happens when he holds the ball and makes a bonehead decision.
And who will record the fastest pass rush get off? Vaughn.
Okay. This is like we don't know.
We don't know the numbers. I'm taking Vaughn.
I'm going to take Hendrickson.
Who will run the most go routes? I think that Jamar is the easy pick here.
Yeah, Jamar's the easy pick there. I'm going to take Hendrickson just because I think with Floyd, Vaughn, and Donald, they're going to do some interesting and creative stuff. They're going to do some interesting and creative stuff.
All right. So that's going to end our prop bet segment. Not quite as good as last year, I'm going to be honest with you. But hey, we'll see you for the next segment. The next segment, we got State of the League and Season in Review coming up before we get to game picks later on the show, and you'll see my pick for the Super Bowl. We'll see you on the next segment. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the 3rd annual PowerSports Power Hour Super Bowl special. Sam Fetterman, Michael Filipkowski here, bringing you the Super Bowl special. We're not that many segments away from game picks, what you've all been waiting for. We're not going to make you sit through that much longer, but we are going to make you sit through Nico going over the season that just happened in the NFL.
What's up?
So, obviously, Thursday night was the NFL honors. But that doesn't matter. I don't care what the NFL says, because those awards are just in name only.
Yeah, Brady's my MVP.
The season happened. The awards, cool. Let's talk about the season that was, because it was a good season.
It's a dang good season.
All right. Let's talk about the team that exceeded your expectations the most. And there is a correct answer here.
Should I go first? I'll go first. It's a hard one to tell. I mean, like, I don't really know which team I think. I'm going to pick the Bengals, of course. I mean, it's quite obvious which team has exceeded my expectations. You know, initially had them as a 4th place team. Now they're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, like, definition of exceeding expectations. I mean, there's no team that I can remember that's come close to what the Bengals have done in a season like this, especially like going from basically 4th in most people's projections to a Super Bowl contender. So, I mean, like that is. I hope that's the right answer. Sam.
Yeah, the Bengals are the correct answer, but there are a couple teams that I want to shout out in this. The Philadelphia Eagles.
I have to agree.
This is a team that I think overall their defense was pretty solid. Their offensive line was really solid, and their coaching was really good. I think Nick Sirianni is like a guy that really should have gotten Coach of the Year a lot. Did he get Coach of the Year votes?
I don't think so. None at
But
all.
he definitely deserves Coach of the Year votes. He was excellent this season.
Mhm.
Do you want to take another team or just pile on?
I mean, yeah, I'll build on the Eagles. I think at the start of the year, I had them at 5-12, but I did say that I was a little optimistic about Jalen Hurts, and I think what changed everything was in the middle of the season when they really stopped asking him to throw, and then teams just could not stop the run. So
Yeah, the crazy thing was Jalen Hurts wasn't even good, and they managed to win football games because they didn't ask him to do things that he couldn't do by the time when they were winning.
And by that you mean like throwing the football?
Exactly. They asked him to be who he was, and because Nick Sirianni is so great, because the offensive line was so great, and because the defense was able to get stops, and partially because of their schedule, they were able to get wins.
Yeah.
I'd also
And-
like to give a shout out to the Raiders.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
think
Raiders were
the Raiders season, very tumultuous campaign. John Gruden gone, Henry Ruggs. I do think that the
Damon Arnett.
season kind of went to the ground when Ruggs was gone. Because really they started 5-2 and they finished 5-5. But like in their first 6 games after Ruggs was gone, they were 1-5. And the one win was in overtime.
How about another team? What about the Steelers? I think the Steelers definitely exceeded my expectations. And the reason
No,
why
I disagree with this. I disagree with this because
well, I mean, not majorly, but
the
I didn't have,
Steelers weren't good. Like they were bad. They were a very bad football team that happened to win a couple of football games because of the most ridiculous, like
Okay,
I don't
well,
know if
the
it's
Bengals
luck. I
happened
don't
to
know
win a
if it's
couple games. I mean, the
okay,
Steelers.
but like they won games that they really shouldn't have, and
This is true. This is
they
true.
didn't exceed any expectations.
They exceeded my expectations.
Maybe
I mean,
maybe in name only they exceeded expectations.
But did they really look like a better team than I thought they would be?
No,
I
they
don't know
looked
if they really
exactly
were.
like we thought they would be. That's why I said
What-
in name only.
What about the Niners?
Nah, I don't think they exceeded.
I mean, I did count them out mid-season, so I would
I
say
mean, they were pretty bad to start the season, and then they ended up making the NFC Championship game. I mean, like I don't know, I didn't have them going that
Hey,
far.
do you guys
Certainly
know
had-
when that all changed? When they started throwing to Brandon Ayuk,
yes.
one of the most
Yes.
underrated receivers in the NFL.
It's true.
I mean, I called them contenders before the season, but when Shanahan got smoked by Colt McCoy, I was off the train.
I mean, who
Yeah.
wasn't off the train at that point? But then they started to win games. They got the Rams, the Jaguars, the Vikings, and all of a sudden you're 6-5.
You know, getting out coached by Cliff was just like an all-time low for Shanahan.
I
Getting
think
out coached by Cliff was an all-time low
the
for
Cardinals at the
everybody.
beginning of the season, they were 7-0, and they would look like they were exceeding expectations.
They
and
did.
then Kyler gets hurt.
And then they
Yeah, I don't think it. Well, I think
about where I expected.
the classic Cliff Kingsbury like crash at the end of the season. I mean, this dude needs to figure out. Okay, we win games at the beginning of the season. Like, how can we do the same thing at the end of the season? Because every
They
single
can't
season,
because teams figure it out.
right? Because he runs very simple pass concepts, and he's not very inventive. And I think he, out of kind of the young coaches, generation, McVay, LaFleur, guys like that. I mean, he's towards the bottom of the barrel. Like I'm not a big fan of Cliff. I'm just not.
Yeah, I
Not a
think
guy
Cliff
who's
and
gonna
Zach
get
Taylor are my two young coaches that I don't like at all.
Stop hitting on Zach Taylor. All right, the dude's in a Super Bowl, right?
His team is in the Super Bowl. He's along for the ride.
I don't think he's a
Lou Anamaro is in the Super Bowl.
Yes. I think that when it comes to this season in the NFL, just overall, what stood out about the season compared to other seasons in the past, just in general? Michael,
Can I take this one? Go
yes,
first.
you can.
I mean, like, so every single week I ended up covering the previous week in the NFL. And this was the first season, at least to such an extent, like every NFL season, crazy things will happen where a team that kind of sucks beats a really good team. And this was kind of the first season where it almost felt like week to week, you really couldn't trust any team. right? It almost became like it was too crazy to even like predict who's winning and who's losing, right? And sometimes you'd pick favorites and they would all get blown out. And to my knowledge, this is the first season where week to week my narratives changed so much. I mean, I would say something and then instantly in the next game, the exact opposite would happen. Like I couldn't find a certain pathway where I was like, this is happening consistently, right? I mean, there were
Yeah,
just
I totally agree. I think that something Nico and I were working on, like when I would send Nico my power rankings every week, I'd be like, I don't like these at all. Remember that?
Yes, I
It feels
absolutely.
like X are too high. It feels like Y is too low. Yeah, actually, it never felt like any team was too low, really. It felt like teams were too high.
mhm.
It just
Um,
felt like everyone was overrated all season.
It
Like, that's
really
how
did.
it felt.
It really did. I didn't think that it took a while. Like the Bills, they didn't play a good opponent until later in the season. They didn't beat a good opponent until later in the season. The
Mhm.
Patriots were just not giving off championship vibes. The Chiefs weren't at their level. The Bengals were they lost
The
to the
Bengals, they
Jets.
lost to the Jets.
The Titans were all injured. And this is just the AFC. And I'm not even done with that. The Raiders were never that good. The Ravens looked like they were dancing through the raindrops. The
The
Colts
Steelers
the Colts
stunk.
couldn't throw the football. The Steelers were bad. The Browns were bad. Like what? Like and then you go to the NFC where the Bucks we think are good, but they had a couple really weird games. The Packers, that week 1 game, I think clouded us for a long time. The Packers might have been the only underrated
Yeah.
team this season.
The Packers were just rolling all year, and then all of a sudden you get to the one game that matters, and
The Packers
it
and the
completely
Chiefs were
fell
probably
apart.
the only underrated teams all year.
I don't know. I didn't love the Packers, and the reason why I like them in the middle of the season.
The Packers
were
gave
playing
off
really
the
good
best
football.
Super Bowl vibes of any
Yes,
team.
they absolutely did.
Like that Browns game felt like they were winning the Super Bowl. Like if you didn't come out of that game saying, you know what, this team has the best Super Bowl vibes of anybody. If you didn't come out of that Browns game thinking that, I don't know what Browns game you watched.
The Cowboys
Yeah, I mean,
to me
yeah.
also gave off big time. Like
The Cowboys,
Nah.
the Cowboys honestly never gave off those vibes to me. And I thought the Cowboys they got blown out by the Broncos.
Well, the thing about the Cowboys, and
then there were other teams that sucked. The Cardinals
good-
got figured out. The Rams got figured out. The
like to the Cowboys to a
Saints
point.
didn't have a quarterback. The Saints had the worst offense I'd ever seen. And then the Giants' offense happened.
oh
Yeah, I mean, listen. I think the thing about the Cowboys specifically was that they were such a week-to-week team. It was which Cowboys team is going to show up? Right? Is the offense going to be humming and the defense is going to play poorly, or like what type of like mixture are we going to see? Because it seemed like that Patriots game where the Cowboys and Patriots played. I mean, when you watch that game, you watch the Cowboys, you're like, wow, this Cowboys team looks very, very good.
Offense, unbelievable. This defense.
And then they go and they play the Broncos at home, and they get like blown
I mean,
out.
they go to Minnesota on primetime, and they win with Cooper Rush at quarterback.
I mean, that was insane. And not, again, stop making fun of me for.
I'm not making fun of Kirk. I'm just saying what happened. I just had to throw in the primetime because I had to. Then they go and lose to the Broncos. Then they destroy the Falcons, and then they play that Chiefs Cowboys game felt so similar to the Patriots Cowboys game from 2019.
Yeah, it did. It did to a certain extent. And I don't know. I think that this was the year where, and week to week, I was like, okay, I think that the only teams I really had confidence were in, was in Brady and the Bucks because
I said before the playoffs, the only 3 teams I can see winning the Super Bowl are the Packers, the Bucks, and the Chiefs. None of them made the Super Bowl. That's what made the season so great.
It's great. It really was an entertaining season, and as many heart attacks as I had, for example, that Bucks Jets game, like a game that on paper you think, well, the Bucks are going to roll, and then Brady leads a game-winning drive, and
Antonio Brown leads the
Antonio,
yeah.
I mean, it was end to end the craziest football season of all time. I mean, the fact that you had 4 game-winning plays with like in the divisional round, like to end it, it's insanity. Like how many road teams won the playoffs?
I think that it's very easy to say that this divisional round was the best week of postseason football in the history of the sport.
It's got to be. I mean, like 3 game-winning field goals and then a game-winning touchdown. Like, I mean, the Chiefs-Bills game was a culmination, but I mean,
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, the 2 best quarterbacks in the league right now, going at it. And I mean, where do I sign up for that? Like, where do I sign up to watch a million games of that?
can that be the Super Bowl? Can we have a 3-game series of that?
No, okay. Now, obviously, that's not going to work. They're not going to stay healthy. But, like, the point is, where do I, like, that is what football is all about. It's not even that the defense was that bad most of the game.
No,
No, it wasn't.
It's just that
just the last, 2 minutes.
And that's why I always say good offense beats good defense. Like, your best on offense will beat your best on defense.
Yeah, I mean, like, in the game before that same day, the Rams-Bucks, I mean, I think Twitter might have died. I think Twitter might have died.
The Bucks almost came back from 27-3, and Brady didn't even play well.
No, I mean, like, Brady fumbled, and then the very next play, you had Greg Gaines just
snapped it over. They snapped it back to LA.
I mean, I think Twitter gave up at that point. Colin Cowherd, I think, tweeted out, "This game is on crack" or something like that. And I was like, "There's no rhyme or reason."
It felt scripted. It really did.
It really did. There are a couple of moments where it felt scripted. The tie at the end of the season, the near tie.
Yes.
That would have been the best moment in football history. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, okay, no, it wouldn't have, because the Steelers wouldn't have made the playoffs.
Yeah, the Steelers wouldn't have made the playoffs.
Listen, I wanted the Steelers.
I completely forgot that you like the Steelers for some reason.
Well, it's confusing that I'm wearing a Bengals jersey right now and that I'm a Steelers fan.
You're not a Steelers fan. You're like,
I don't know. My Big Ben jersey will
you like a couple teams.
You know, I'll say this. I don't like a couple teams, like a couple players. I like Kirk, and, if I like Kirk, I got to root for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And that's a sad thing to have happen, because rooting for the Vikings
is and rooting for the Vikings this year was a heart attack after a heart attack.
Yeah,
I can only imagine if you're actually a Vikings fan and even if you're a Kirk Cousins fan, it's crazy, because, like, Kirk Cousins did pretty much everything he could. Pretty much everything he could, not everything anyone could, but everything he could.
One of the
pretty much
worst
reached the ceiling this year,
and he had a great year. He had a great year.
Yeah, I think the perfect microcosm of the entire Viking season was that Detroit Lions game where they lost, and Kirk leads them on a game-winning drive. They score, and the Lions go down the field, and Zimmer has them playing like off shell coverage in the red zone on the last play of the game. Not man to man. They leave Amon-Ra St. Brown wide. It's just silly. Like, losing to the Cooper Rush on, like, it's just.
I mean, I will say that game-winning drive for the Vikings started at the Detroit 19.
It did.
And Kirk only threw one pass.
Game-winning drive.
Hey. It's game-winning drives are on your Pro Football Reference page.
I mean, listen, this season, even the Pro Bowl. I mean, the Pro Bowl sucked, but we got
the Pro Bowl was brutal, and I think that that's just bad. But I think when we talk about this season,
the gritty.
I mean, I don't even we haven't even mentioned the Miami Dolphins went on like a ridiculous winning streak, beating up on Pee-wee teams.
We swept
you. Tagovailoa.
You did, but that wasn't part of either win. That wasn't part of the win streak.
We swept you. I don't care. We swept you.
And the thing about the Dolphins was they were never good, but they were
never good
enough. They were good enough to beat the bad teams, except for the Jaguars.
And do you remember when they got absolutely trounced by the Bucs when Brady threw for 5 touchdowns?
I barely even. That game barely even exists to me. It was on Red Zone twice.
And then the Dolphins go on this crazy winning streak, and it wasn't even that Tua was playing well. It
wasn't even impressive. It was
they just kind of fumbled their way into win.
It was the least impressive 7-game winning streak I have ever seen.
And then they fired Brian Flock.
And by the way, the Patriots win streak wasn't impressive either.
Well, I bet
there were a couple games that were impressive, but most of it wasn't that impressive.
I mean, we basically destroyed the Lamar Jackson Ravens. I think we deserve
that was impressive. I will say that, But
That
the
was a
rest
good- that
of the
was a
win
good
streak
Thursday
was
night game.
Ian Book, Zach Wilson, like,
The rest was Mickey Mouse. I will admit it.
Yeah, I mean,
and
that-
honestly, that Thursday night game in itself, if a game is played on Thursday night, it's automatically Mickey Mouse.
that Monday night Ian Book Dolphins game was
That's peak. That is
Contender-
whatever the opposite of a peak is. That's the valley of football.
you had arguably the worst two quarterbacks in the NFL play against each other
Okay,
that season.
okay. Sam Darnold wasn't in that game.
Respect.
I honestly,
Tua.
No.
Sam Darnold's
no.
entertaining.
Tua is
at
definitely
least.
in that. I don't know if Ian Book is worse than Sam Darnold though.
I think Ian
He was
Book
definitely
pretty
in
bad.
there.
He was definitely
obviously
he was
joking,
pretty
but like the thing is, the
What about the
Dolphins
Washington
the
football
Dolphins
team?
were weird this year. The
football team
Colts
was
were
weird.
The Colts, honestly,
I was all
coming
in on the Colts.
coming
I was-
into the final week of the season, I genuinely thought there was a good chance the Colts would make the Super Bowl.
I did too.
I picked the Jaguars to cover. I was so happy that the Jaguars won that game. Like, honestly, all season long from the beginning of the season, I said, hey, Colts are not making the playoffs. And the bar
I said
was,
that at the beginning of the season too. And I mean, I'm a huge Jonathan Taylor fan, and I have been for a long time. Really, since his freshman year at Wisconsin, I've been a Jonathan Taylor fan. I didn't think he was going to be this good. I didn't think he was going to be the best running back in the league.
yeah, I drafted Zeke over him in fantasy. That was rough.
Well, I would not have done that.
We all knew
In two
Zeke
leagues.
was just like a trap.
And Zeke's
Yeah.
still like
Zeke actually had a decent season. The problem was
like
Tony Pollard.
volume wise wasn't horrible.
Tony Pollard got in the way, and I also
Tony
drafted
Pollard's
Tony
so
Pollard.
good.
He really is. Too bad he's on the Cowboys, so nothing
bad,
good will ever happen to him.
But like when it comes to like the Falcons might be the worst 7-10 team I've ever seen.
Bro, they literally were throwing to Cordero Patterson and Kyle Pitts. They had no
They got
wide
blown
receivers.
out. Literally every time they lost, it was a blowout, and every time they won, it was a close game.
Right. I mean that they won like some really like
The only
crazy
close game
games.
that they lost was that Washington game, I think, and that
Yeah.
first Panthers game.
And then like what about? I mean, obviously the Panthers collapsed again.
The Panthers were never good. Their defense was good. Their offense
They
was never
were.
good.
I think they were for a minute there. The Panthers.
By beating
They were good
the
'cause they played the
Jets
Jets.
by 5. That Saints game they played well. I'll give them that. And then the Texans by 15 on Thursday night. That's it. That's it. That's what they were good.
How about Davis Mills? I think
Davis
honestly,
Mills wasn't Davis Mills is overrated. I'll say that.
He was massively improved. Like I
Listen,
watched.
but he
him
genuinely like he
It was
could. He's
bad.
a starting caliber quarterback.
yeah. I mean, we have to see what actually happens. And to be fair, his team around him is pretty god awful. Like they have Brandon Cooks, and then who like their offensive line isn't great.
But like
They're-
I think people overrate Davis Mills just because he was in a terrible situation.
I think,
But
that's
like
it.
he genuinely is a starting caliber
he
quarterback.
should get
Yeah.
another year with the Texans for sure. Like that.
I think
definitely.
you look to replace him, but you don't but you're fine rolling with him.
Right. I mean, because they're not in a winning position, anyways. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, the
that's the thing, like,
Broncos were all
there's-
over the place. Like there were
Alright,
so many teams that were all over
most
the place.
disappointing player.
Most disappointing players.
Yes, and I think
I've got one.
all right.
Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I was gonna say Allen Robinson.
He just
Definitely.
stopped.
I
trying.
genuinely have no idea. The man, I think he's. You know
He's
what?
bad. He's bad.
He had to stop trying. There's no way that anything else happened.
Like he didn't care at all.
Yeah. I think before his injury, Chase Young was kind of disappointing.
Definitely, he wasn't good this season.
He was
Bradbury.
good. It was just disappointing.
He didn't really have a sack for a while, did he?
I don't really know about the sacks. I just know that he was not very good, but not bad.
Bradbury and Marlon Humphrey.
Bradbury, yes, and Humphrey. That's very true.
Mhm.
Minka Fitzpatrick and Jesse Bates honestly didn't have that great of a season.
No, they
Bates
were.
turned it on at the end of the year. though.
Yes, Bates turned it on in the playoffs.
I would say. And I'm trying to think about. I mean,
The crazy thing, like Lamar Jackson was playing the best football of his career, and then he literally crashed and played the worst football of his career.
Brian.
No,
Flores.
yeah, it's definitely the case.
No, it was even before that game where he started to show signs of being weird.
I mean, like I know I know he
Ryan
was injured.
Tannehill was extremely disappointing.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill.
I mean, I was never disappointed because my expectations.
No, but like you didn't expect him to be like a
to
liability.
be fair, he did lose almost all of his offensive weapons.
Like the crazy thing was, the Titans were a 12-5 team in the most in the way that nobody expected them to be a 12-5 team.
I just expected them to like hang 40 on a bunch of teams.
Me too.
And give up like 30.
I expect their defense to be a little bit better than like it was last year, but not as good as it was this year.
Jeffrey Simmons was incredible.
Yeah, and I knew he was going to be good. I think Baker Mayfield, even like he was just more disappointing than like I was low on him, and I didn't expect him to be. I didn't expect him to be bad. Like there's a lot of guys I didn't expect to be bad that were bad.
DK had kind of an underwhelming season. I mean, part of that was Russell Wilson getting injured, but
Russell Wilson wasn't bad. I think
he wasn't bad.
I honestly think Russell Wilson's probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of. I wasn't a big fan of DK's season.
I think DK was disappointing.
Yeah,
I mean, DK didn't he have like 1,200 yards?
No, he didn't. He had like 800 yards.
Yeah, he missed. He just. I mean, obviously, well, hold on. The perennial most disappointing player of the season, Chris Carson, every year because he gets injured every season.
Not in 2020.
Chris Carson.
He was really good before the season, and I will.
He's really good.
And I will die on the hill that Chris Carson was a top 8 running back coming into the season.
Come on!
Oh my
serious?
God! Yeah, Sam.
Now he's bad.
He's bad because he gets injured all the time.
Yeah, that's the problem. But he wasn't like he played like a lot more in the past than he did this year.
Yeah.
And Rashad Penny's probably a top 10 running back.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anyway, outside of that, I think we're gonna end this. We're gonna get you to our next segment. And with that, Nico, Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the PowerSports Power Hour Super Bowl special. Sam Fetterman, Michael Filipkowski. This is the final segment before game picks. And who better to join us for State of the League than Josh Berman?
Let's go. I'm excited.
Well, the segment that Josh did last year, Super Bowl history, we actually cut out this year. This segment, I like it. Josh likes it. The first thing I want to start off with is Tom Brady retired. Like, Ben Roethlisberger retired. These guys aren't going to be in the NFL next year.
And even guys that barely played this year but did play and we'll never see again is a guy like Adrian Peterson. I mean, I don't expect to see him next year.
Yeah, it's the end of an era. Like, truly. Yeah, it's truly the end of an era more so than any other year in the NFL.
How about Gronk? I don't know about you. I'm still expecting him to retire.
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely expecting him to retire.
How about Aaron Rodgers?
I don't know if he's going to retire, but I think there's a good chance he does.
He said he would announce on the back. I think he's staying in Green Bay.
I think that there's a good chance he stays in Green Bay, but I also think there's a good chance that he gets moved. Like,
yeah.
And the same thing with Russell Wilson. Like, there's a good chance he gets moved.
I think there's a higher chance of him getting moved than Aaron Rodgers.
That's really interesting. I just think that every year there's a lot of teams that need to upgrade at quarterback to take the next step or just need a new quarterback in general. And there's not that many quarterbacks.
Right. There are 32 spots and about 25 who deserve it.
There's really only like 18 like actually good quarterbacks.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
And then there's like 10 great quarterbacks.
And then 17 if you say Aaron Rodgers is gone.
Yeah. There's like 10 great quarterbacks, 6 good quarterbacks, and a couple guys with potential. And that's really it.
Right.
And that's what's crazy. This offseason is going to be...
Now we're getting a massive, though, increase in 2 years.
Yes, but not right now. This is a bad draft class for quarterbacks. Right. And I do want to talk about...
Kenny Pickett's the GOAT. Kenny Pickett's the GOAT.
I do want to talk about the draft a little bit because it's one of the NFL's marquee events every year. And this year, the quarterbacks aren't the marquee guys. And we've seen this before. There's been the year where it was where Myles Garrett was the marquee guy, even though that was the Mahomes draft class. they weren't hyping Mahomes up like he was the next big thing. They were hyping Myles Garrett. They were hyping Jadeveon Clowney his year. So I think there's going to be a lot of hype for Aiden.
Well, Sam, that's what this league needs right now.
It needs defense. I agree.
We are in a state right now where it is offensive dominated, and that will never change. I don't think. I don't think
it's ever going to change, but I think there's going to be like swings.
Sam, there was not a. I have not said this anywhere, but I've kind of had this back in my head, and I'm just gonna. I have not actually said this out loud at all. When was the last time we had a year like this where there was no dominant defense? Like you can say this was the best defense in the league, or there was no defense, zero teams.
Every defense felt fraudulent.
Yes,
and we were talking about this.
Were all right.
We were talking about this on season interview with Nico that not a single team felt like they were. Everyone felt overrated.
Yeah.
And it's the same with defense. And I think that's a good concept that defense, somebody's going to, in the next however many years, somebody's going to come up with something that's going to slow down scoring.
Well, it's because we have Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and guys like that thinking of all these innovative offensive concepts. We need defensive guys. A guy like Brandon Staley, Sean McDermott, these are young defensive guys. We need to see someone, whether it's a head coach or a DC, think of something innovative. Because when was the last true defensive innovation in the NFL?
There really hasn't been like crazy innovations. It's just people working through old stuff and saying, you know what, this might work now.
When was the last time? Well, but I'm saying we're about to see another one on offense with Deebo Samuel. Because every team is going to have one of those.
Well, okay, no, they're not.
Well, I'm not saying to the same extent. Not the same extent, but every team is going to have a guy that they will try to. Yeah, try.
And the thing is, teams, and like it's the same thing that a couple of years ago we said, oh, everyone's looking for the next Lamar Jackson. Everyone's looking for the next Mahomes.
It's not the same thing because this is not, I'm not saying they're looking for the next Deebo Samuel. They're looking for the guy to use in that role as a increase in the run game.
I think a lot of people are looking for the next Deebo
the innovation
Samuel.
of the run game, not the innovation. Michael said a while back, so I've brought this up a lot of times in the streams, and Michael's I think last time I brought it up, said, so it's the death of the running back. I said, no, it's the innovation of the running back.
It's the new evolution. And this year's coaching hires, not super inspiring in that sense.
They're very interesting.
They're more of like...
Because they're not bad, I think it's very interesting.
I think I like Doug Peterson, but like it's a retread. It's not that interesting. Like it is interesting, but it's not that interesting.
Josh McDaniels, another retread.
Lovie Smith, another retread.
Lovie Smith was stupid.
That really didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Then
Texans, what do you expect?
Can they give they probably think that they give themselves extra picks for it.
You have Matt Eberflus in Chicago.
I like him, but like it's not like
defensive innovation. Who knows?
It's good, but
I like him. I don't think he's like a slam dunk though.
I do.
And like I don't think there was a single like massive slam dunk this year.
I
like Peterson. I like Dable. I like Eberflus, but I don't think anybody like was like, oh my god, this is the guy.
I think Kevin O'Connell is probably the best hire.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I like him.
I've been low on the Vikings for the last 4 years.
I think there were a lot of good hires, but not like a single standout hire.
I didn't think much of the Kevin O'Connell hire when it happened, but the more I've thought about it, the more I like it.
Yeah,
I like the Dennis Allen hire too.
And I like the GM that the Vikings brought in. I think
the guy from the Browns, Kwesi.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see because he's coming from an analytical background, and I think it's interesting to see how he's going to run a team. And obviously, with all of this swirling around, Brian Flores is suing the NFL.
That's going to be really interesting because you look at, I don't remember what the number is, but it's not the minority coach is not getting hired. It's that they're getting fired quicker.
Yeah, Steve Wilkes.
Well, Steve Wilkes was not good.
Yeah, but like he got 1 year. David Culley
Yeah.
got 1 year. Like
Cully getting 1 year was weird. Flores
How
getting
many-
fired
I
mean,
was
how
weird.
many coaches have gotten 1 year? I mean, Urban Meyer, but like he's
Urban
Meyer.
Meyer's an outlier.
Yeah, and like I think everybody would have given David Culley a second year, even though he's not like a great coach. I think
I wasn't against firing him, but
Yeah,
then
I
when you
agree. I
look
wasn't
at-
against firing him. I just
I,
didn't.
I
think-
I didn't trash it at all. And then I saw they hired Lovie Smith to replace him. Now I'm saying, what are you doing?
That's a stopgap.
Like, I really didn't know what the Texans were doing with hiring David Culley. I didn't really know who
Oh,
it
I was a terrible hire when I did it.
coming
I mean,
into
it
the
made no
season,
sense.
and I didn't expect him to stay around for long. And then they fire him, and they hire Lovie Smith. And honestly, I just think the Texans are just like I don't know what's going on in the organization in terms of that. Nick Caserio and I have no idea what's going on there. They got
you know what
I
I
don't
think.
they know.
You know what I think the Texans want to do? I think they want to eventually hire Josh McCown as their head coach.
I do too. And you know what? I think that would be fine. They just need to wait until he gets some experience.
I think that they're hiring Lovie Smith as a stopgap for that.
I do too.
Maybe.
And
But why don't you just keep Cully until then?
I don't know. And then, all right, back to Brian Flores. The NFL can't sweep this under the rug. Like they can't.
Want to. They're trying.
Exactly. They
But they
want
can't.
to, but they're not going to be able to.
This is not like Washington, which, by the way, let me tell you something. When this all gets out about Snyder, this is going to make Donald Sterling's thing look mild. I'm telling you, it is bad.
I know, and the thing is, I've been saying this about Dan Snyder for so long.
Well, we've always known
this is
Dan
going to be the one.
Snyder.
I know people that have had interaction with Dan Snyder personally, and they're like, "Oh no, this is like Sam, this is really gonna be."
They
bad.
still haven't drafted an All-Pro on their team, right? Like something like that.
I mean, we've known Dan Snyder.
There's a stat like that. They haven't drafted. Oh no, they did. I don't know.
There's no way that's true.
But
we've always known Dan.
I don't know
Snyder's
what
just
because
a scummy
I saw a
person.
stat a couple years, but they drafted Sean Taylor, they drafted Trent Williams. Like what? Like,
Yeah, there's no way
I don't
that's
know.
true.
I'm just saying, like I saw a stat somewhere.
It was something maybe like that, I don't know, but
It was
not
made up, clearly.
That's just not true.
But the entire Snyder era has been a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, it is going to be the NFL right now in general. Now it's been king, but the gap that they have increased this year is ridiculous. I don't think people are paying enough attention to not that the NFL is still number one, but the fact that they were number one by a mile and they just added an extra mile in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that the NFL
75 of the top 100 most watched things on cable this year were NFL games. 0 of the top 100 were NBA, NHL, or MLB, or the Olympics.
Yeah, and that just shows, and also like college football is probably bigger than any other of the professional sports.
When we talk about sports in media, it's one of the few things left that cable news actually, can have some sort of claim over.
Not anymore, though, because next year we're going to Amazon.
Well,
right, next year
Thursday night.
And when we talk about the draw of cable news or cable television, it's really at this point sports. I mean, the biggest events that cable draws in are sports. Right. It's not
how
politics.
long
It's not
all right. Here's
political shows. Like
how long
it's
until the
sports.
Super Bowl is on Amazon or another streaming service?
Let me tell you something.
Probably not long.
The current the current media deal that they signed last year, the $110 billion deal that we all looked at and said, yeah, that sounds about right because the NFL has that much power. This is the last media deal that will have any networks on them. The next one will be Amazon Prime, Hulu, YouTube TV. I bet Netflix will get involved, even though they don't have live TV yet. They will if they're smart. If they are not, they will either have live TV or will be dead.
I think that ESPN is going to try and get into it, like because
ESPN Plus,
yeah,
Paramount Plus will overtake CBS. Peacock will overtake NBC.
Yep.
That is what these
and
networks are
you're
doing.
just going to have to pay for all of these services. And
Well, yeah, but that's cheaper though than cable. Anyway.
yeah, and like that's what. And it's just all the different bills. That's the thing that people,
yeah.
Because
But that
It's
is
really
right.
the question of
Yeah, that's where the NFL's going. It's going to streaming. Everything's going to streaming.
Right.
Well,
And a
it's
lot of people are.
Right.
A lot of people
sports the
are.
only thing left that's not on streaming.
Yeah, and
it's going to be the question of, can cable innovate enough to
No.
they're too far back.
Probably
Like,
not.
Yeah, they can't. And we talk about the NFL and it's evolving. It's also evolving around the world, not just in America. There's going to be a first ever game in Germany next year.
It's going to be interesting.
And you know what I think is going to happen?
What?
So the 17th game that they added this season, I think that every year, every team is going to have that game is going to be an international game for every team.
I know that there are, I don't remember what the teams are. There are certain teams that have still never left the country. And I don't know if you guys even remember this game, but remember the one time the Ravens went to London and played Jacksonville?
Mm-hmm.
They blew them out like 45-7.
The Jaguars absolutely destroyed them.
Yep.
And that was the Saxonville year, but none of us knew how good Jacksonville was at that point.
And,
but I mean,
didn't Jacksonville also get arrested or something?
What'd you say?
Didn't Jaguars players get arrested?
That was a different year.
Yeah.
But Ryan Mallett came in at the end of the game and outpassed Joe Flacco. It was that bad for us. We got destroyed. But after that game, the Ravens pretty much said without saying, we're never going to London again.
So
I know that the Ravens are not the only team like that, but I agree with you. I think it's going to take some time, but at some point.
So you know where the Ravens are going?
Mexico
City,
Toronto. We haven't seen.
I think Toronto, they're the Bills might do something in Toronto. The Bills used to play games in Toronto.
They did.
Listen, the NFL is all about money, right? And Roger Goodell understands, I think, better than anybody else.
Goodell is a much better commissioner than we realized. I think we've.
I agree. He's grown the league.
The last 2 years, Roger Goodell did a phenomenal job.
When he sees how much money he's going to draw in from this Germany game, because it's not like people in the U.S. aren't going to watch, right? We're all still going to watch this game in Germany, not only because it's the first one, but because it's football.
Right.
And when he sees how many people in Germany go and watch this game, we should be prepared for games in Canada, Mexico, London, France, Spain.
I think Spain is probably another market that we're going to see. And how long until we're in Asia or Australia?
I think very soon. I mean, look at the NBA. They're already in China.
But that's different.
You got to get the teams to agree to it because of the jet lag and how much it's going to be. Because once you go any further than Germany or the UK or anything further than that, you are looking at a requirement that they are on a bye week the following week.
Right. I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Stuff like that. It's just not fair, especially if you are a team that's not on the East Coast.
And that's why if you're going to Australia, if you're going to Japan, you're doing it with West Coast teams.
Right. But neither way, you would be sitting at a requirement that.
Yeah, there would definitely be a requirement.
You have a bye week. I mean, teams already are saying this for London. Imagine if you have a team just that are like, imagine if you have a game that's like a 14-hour flight and then you have to play the next. No, that's not fair at all.
It's not, but it's money and it's the NFL.
Money, but it's also, yes, but you also have to have the PA agree to it.
You know what I think? I think eventually we see 2 bye weeks in a season.
Yeah, especially because the NFL still wants to add another week.
I mean,
they compromised the players, but they wanted 18, not 17.
They did. Right. And honestly, that makes 18 makes more sense than 17 is an even number.
Well,
you get the same amount of home and road games.
Up to 18 eventually. I mean,
but I think 17 works if you get them all to play internationally.
I
doesn't have to be Rome or Perth.
I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL opens up some sort of minor league in Europe or something.
They tried that.
That all Europe, yeah.
They tried that. It kind of worked.
I mean, I think that we're in a new age. I mean, with streaming and everything, you start streaming those games. You put it in the spring.
But the issue there is all of the players would most.
Yeah,
of the
the idea is there. The execution, I don't think, would be.
Yeah.
It's tough.
The NFL has had issues, I would say, in a little establishment known as Paradise, Nevada, just south of the city of Las Vegas.
I think that what is going on there, I saw someone say it on Twitter, and I fully agree with it. Vegas is the same thing as Miami. There are certain players who can deal with Miami nightlife and certain players who can't. And teams in Miami know that, and they will intentionally look at a player and say, this guy cannot deal with Miami. No matter how good he is, no matter how much he fits, we cannot sign him because it will not work. Vegas is and will become the exact same way, where teams in Vegas, the Raiders, the Golden Knights over there, and let's face it, the NBA and the NBA and MLB eventually will go there. It might take time, especially the NBA after what happened there on All-Star Weekend, but eventually we will have 4 teams in Vegas, and all 4 teams over there will be the same as the Miami teams, or they'll say, these guys cannot deal with the nightlife, we can't sign them, and that's just going to come over time. And the Raiders learned that the hard way this year. And
the very hard way.
Go away. It's not going to go away. It's not going to go away, but it's not an issue. It's just something that has to happen.
Yeah, and also just the entire Raiders organization, not just with the Vegas issue, but John Gruden, like
John Gruden was unavoidable.
Honestly, I thought he was an underrated coach.
I'm not defending Gruden, but I 1,000% agree with him that he was a scapegoat in this whole thing, where the NFL wanted to do something to take the attention off of all of the emails being released for Washington. And I really believe that. And I honestly don't think I don't think you can convince me otherwise. And the NFL is not like, we need to find someone so they can stop worrying about Washington.
I think I agree with that. I just think that it's still a problem.
It is.
And it's not just that. It relates to the whole Flores thing. It's a bigger problem around the league.
Right. Because the NFL is amazing at dodging situations. But you know what dodging situations does? It just delays it. It doesn't make it go away. It just delays it.
They just kick the can down the road, and eventually it all ties together.
What happened with the concussion research?
They had a movie.
They kept delaying it and delaying and delaying it, and eventually they couldn't delay it anymore, and it was a mess. And the same thing is going to happen with Washington. The same thing is going to happen with Florida. And
also the Deflategate, hello,
yeah.
They suspended Tom Brady for 4 games. They issued the biggest fine, and they took a first-round pick for something that literally just
was a power move.
Also, probably took an MVP away from Brady too. He would have won MVP that season had he played those 4 games, most likely.
I don't think so, because I think the media wanted a guy like Matt Ryan to win it in an amazing. I don't think this is one of those things where
if Deflategate it doesn't exist and there's nothing against Brady in that sense. Maybe.
Yeah, but still, what the Falcons were doing that year,
it was crazy,
amazing,
it was crazy.
And
all right. Here's another thing. What is the best thing the NFL did this year? Not on the field, but and I think there's a correct answer, and I think you know exactly what the correct answer is.
The Manning cast is one of them.
Yep, that's it.
But I also think that what they are doing is they are slowly, and this is a very slow process, realizing
buying into the new media world.
Yes.
Except Pat McAfee show.
Yeah. Well,
Aaron
Pat
Rodgers
McAfee is not related to the NFL, but
it's the NFL understands it. And it's becoming a bigger deal.
Starting to get it, and that has been the advantage the NBA has had for a long time because they were the first to understand it. And the NFL is very slowly starting to catch up, and the NBA will be in trouble with that. Not to go away or anything, but obviously. But I'm saying any type of advantage they had over the NFL was on social media, and they're losing it.
Yep. And the NFL, we're starting to see the players dictate more the way the NBA does.
Which
obviously not quite the same level, and it never will be. But
and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, obviously. But there's something brewing there, the whole situations.
Give it about 10 to 15 years.
And yeah, we're going to see not the same level that we see in the NBA, but we're going to see something there.
Yeah.
Le'Veon
Bell was the guy who started that.
Oh, absolutely. Le'Veon Bell. Remember Joey Bosa held out of his rookie contract.
Which was weird because there's a wage there.
Yeah. What was the worst thing the NFL did this year? Something and let's try something we haven't talked about.
Not taunting. It's not even close.
Taunting.
No. No, I don't think there is another answer.
And my thing with NFL officiating, bad refs are part of every single sport.
Yeah.
But rules we can control. Bad refs we cannot.
I am not one to defend or criticize officials to a crazy amount, but I want to remind people that they don't get all of these instant replays on the field. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't think people realize how hard it is to ref until you.
Oh no! Unless you've like refed any sport.
Yeah. I mean, this is to a so much lesser of a level, obviously. But I work at a summer camp, and I had to ref games.
The guilt that comes with throwing a flag on a tacky play.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's hard enough to ref a two-hand touch football game with second, third, and fourth graders when it's 6-on-6 two-hand touch. Imagine with no real pressure compared. Imagine 11-on-11 tackle football with way more extreme rules, with 70,000 people booing you every time you don't get their way, whether they're right or wrong, and hundreds of millions of people watching your every move, and the slightest mistake will get ridiculed. That's pressure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy. And it's the same thing with every sport. These referees are criticized a lot, and
if they make a great call, that's like, how the hell did you even see that? Like the Edelman catch. I don't think if you were a ref, Sam, and the Edelman catch happened, you're ruling that an incomplete pass.
1,000,000%.
Correctly saw that he actually caught that ball.
Yeah. All right. What do you want the NFL to do? Something we haven't mentioned. What do you want the NFL to do in the next years? I think that like the
Pro Bowl needs to be changed.
But I don't think you can. Now
Get rid of the game. The skills challenge is phenomenal. People like it. They want to see it. And I think they have something with a skills challenge, and they really did something with it this year, where it's been good, but what they did with it this year was fantastic. But it could be so much better.
I think they need to make the Senior Bowl a bigger deal.
Ooh.
I like that it's the week of where there's nothing going on in the NFL. I like that it's Pro Bowl week. I just think they need to advertise it better.
I've heard people say, I heard Pat McAfee say, the players also don't care about the Pro Bowl because of the timing of it. Why don't you put it in the middle of the season?
Because injuries in the middle of the season?
Yeah, you can't put it in the middle of the
season.
Well,
that's why I'm suggesting getting rid of the game.
Exactly. I agree. Now, we move to what I was going to say. Here's one.
I don't follow hockey, but someone told me, and what does the NHL do for the All-Star game?
They have a skills challenge, and then the next day they have there's 4 divisions, and it's the division all-star teams play 3-on-3 against each other.
That's what it was. Okay, because
I mean, what I was 7-on-7 flag football.
Exactly.
No one would watch flag football.
No. Yes, they would.
I don't think so.
Actually, yeah, they would.
Think about these offensive players playing defense. Think about these defensive players playing offense. Think about the linemen running routes. That would be sick.
I would watch an out of position game.
Get out there.
And also, the other thing, you want to make players care about it? Increase the prize money. You get $50,000 for winning it? No. Make it $1 million. I'm not kidding.
No.
Yes.
Can't go per player for $1 million.
Yes, you can. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, Sam. They can.
I think you could, especially because if you're marketing the Pro Bowl as something much better.
It depends on how well you market it.
So much money. The Pro Bowl could be such a big draw. Think about it this way, Sam.
It'd be amazing.
You get all the best players in the NFL playing in 1 week. That is a huge draw.
I don't think you even go divisions. I think you should have like the top vote getter at each position. Or something like that.
Remember when they did that with
and it could be a battle of the positions, a quarterback team, a running back team, a receiver
that would be
team.
So funny.
How cool would that be? Think about the tackles against the kickers. That would be the greatest thing of all time. I'm thinking about. I just thought of
Justin Tucker or like Graham Gano playing quarterback because he's like the dodgeball guy.
Right.
All right. Another thing, the whole one helmet thing. I think they're getting rid of that. I think
they are.
They should. I like having alternate helmets.
Now, the Ravens don't have another logo we can use because we got sued for our original one. That's why we changed it.
Yes, but the Ravens.
Yeah, but
it's not.
they're
It's not the
logo
logo. It's also
designs.
the colors.
Yeah,
You could, you could go with a white helmet.
or a blue one.
Blue. What?
Just
Like a
in
dark
general,
blue,
like for
Mm.
like I saw a Bengals white helmet that was the
Yeah,
best thing
that's
I've
what
ever
I was
seen.
That'd be sick.
Goes with
Patriots
this
need the white
jersey.
helmets back.
Does.
Um,
Every team
Just-
can have an alternate helmet and all that. And
The
that's what we're gonna
Patriots
see.
bring back the old logo with the red jerseys. Like
It
that's
is
an
next
iconic
year,
look.
right? Next year's
I
the
think
when they're bringing
so.
that back.
I think so, and that's such a great thing for the NFL because,
God.
and I
It's
also
great
think,
because I'm gonna have to spend more money on a Mac Jones jersey. I mean, that's what's gonna end up happening, right,
Exactly.
Sam?
yeah, money.
The
And
more helmets, the more uniforms.
then the more uniforms, the more money.
See,
Yep,
I
beginning in
don't understand why-
2022. Beginning in 2022, you can use the one helmet rule ahead of the 2022 season. There you go.
And everything that the NFL is doing, obviously, there's.
I think that's
Obviously,
something
the
that they're doing
NFL
really
is a
good job on.
huge. It's one of the biggest It's one of the biggest businesses in the world. It literally monopolizes a day of the week in this country.
And the day used to belong to God.
It used to belong to the Lord, and then the NFL
The
said
NFL
no.
took the day that belonged to God.
Yes.
Think about
And
They
that.
took Sunday. They took Sunday afternoons. Took Monday nights. They took.
No, they
Thursday
took
nights.
all day Sunday.
Yeah, that's true.
They
Yeah.
took
And
the whole
wait.
day.
They take Saturdays at the end of the season. Saturdays for college football. Friday nights for high school
Football
football.
owns the weekends. Like
Football
just a
owns
sport.
every day of the week besides Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, and when you think
And
about,
just wait. They're
yeah,
gonna put a game on Tuesday.
they did.
Yeah.
They
They
will
did.
eventually.
They did this
Because you
year.
know what? People will watch a crappy football game over
Well,
whatever
okay,
else is
as
on.
long as it's the
Michael-
NFL.
Not Michael. Well, your name is Michael, but neither way.
As long as it's the NFL,
the
people will not watch like
Michael-
the AAF randomly though.
Okay, I watched the AAF.
But not a lot of
think
people do.
about this.
No.
The NFL put a game on a Wednesday afternoon, and it outviewed everything on TV by a wide margin.
Yeah, it's a standalone game. Like that's the NFL. I think they don't even need to market that much. They just are a behemoth, and they can put the NFL could put the Super Bowl on. Could not even the Super Bowl. The NFL could put Jets Jaguars on at 1 a.m. on
I'd watch it.
on like the most obscure channel on your television.
I know. I'd
on-
watch it.
On
Everyone's turning it on.
Star or on Disney Channel. Like I mean, there was a
That's
game
Wednesday
that
another
night
thing.
football on True
Hold on.
TV. I'd watch that.
That's another thing. What are they gonna do with these other networks? Nickelodeon.
that's a big one
think-
too.
I think we.
They had
I
like
want-
they had a weekly show on Nickelodeon.
They
They
did.
do.
And first of all, they got guys for it. Nate Burleson is amazing at it. As well,
Well,
as that
I'm
Greg
not a
kid.
big Nate Burleson fan, but
No, but he's
Really?
good at that.
I love Nate.
I love Nate. I just
He's solid on NFL
he's
Network.
good
He's
for that.
great
I'm
on
not a big
Nickelodeon.
fan of I'm not a big fan of the actual production. Of
I
the
think
Nickelodeon
CBS
Wild
should
Card
hire
game.
Noah Eagle and Nate Burleson to do a game, be a member of the rotation. Those two are a great duo together.
I agree. I just think that like it's like they are the Nickelodeon guys.
yeah, but
I
that
don't
doesn't
know.
mean you can say that.
Yeah,
Those
you're right.
guys
I
can-
watched the Nickelodeon game to kind of be a part of that, like that everyone else is watching, so I'm watching the Slime Zone.
I
I'm
love
watching
here's
more
the-
to make fun of it too, rather than like getting
But
great
that's the thing.
commentating.
It doesn't
out
matter
of it. Like,
if we're making fun of it. It doesn't matter if we're
Think about a
watching it.
game on HBO. They go the other route. Get Pat McAfee and like
Pat
I'm serious.
McAfee called a game a couple of years ago.
No, I'm
Yeah, it
saying
was
on
electric.
HBO with no holds barred. Get a guy like Pat McAfee and
Well, didn't they move away from HBO with Inside the
if you
NFL?
get Dave Portnoy on, that'd be hilarious.
No.
well, they went to
not-
HBO.
I think it would be. I mean, obviously
not
the whole
Portnoy.
controversy, but
No,
I think you get a
he's-
I'm
guy
saying
like.
the
something like
NFL literally hates him.
Well, I
No,
know,
yeah,
but
but-
you get a guy like him.
yeah,
There's
but
nobody
you
like
get
him.
what you guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
and the
you
NFL
go-
is, and again, it's media. They're going to expand with the new media to all these different things. NFL,
And you can get away with a lot more on streaming services in terms of censorship.
yeah, FCC. Again, no, I don't watch. I don't turn on the TV unless there's like a game on.
Yeah.
I get all of my sports news from Twitter, all of it.
It's a one-stop shop. All you gotta do is click Twitter, and if you follow the right people, I mean, like you follow Shams, Woj, like Ian Rappaport, I mean Adam Schefter, you're getting all the football and basketball news you need.
Ari Meyerov.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you about him.
Yeah, he's with PFF now.
He's had a great year because he went from the guy who just had everyone's notifications on to a guy who's getting scoops.
Well, no, he did get scoops.
Times. Not the way he has this year.
Yeah.
He went from a guy who just had everyone's notifications on, so he just was the first to like tweet it out, to a guy that is getting the news as soon as Schefter and Rappaport are getting it.
And yeah, he's up there.
And
in
he's
that
working
category.
for a website. He's not working for a network.
Yes,
That's a
PFF
big
is,
deal.
and PFF's expanding to soccer. Like,
yeah,
I don't even know.
Soccer's huge.
Like, I don't get, like, it doesn't make sense to me how they're gonna do it. But like, my point is, PFF, like, there's, I mean, everyone disagrees with PFF's grades. Where's the competitor coming from?
It's not QBR. It's not quarterback
rating. Stats is the only people that could do it.
But
maybe,
like,
but Amazon's got to put
Next Gen Stats. That is like my huge thing. Analytics in the NFL. Once Next Gen Stats gets
going for on fourth down was a great.
It was an amazing year for fourth down. Not even just like from an analytical perspective, just like for anybody that watches football, you want to see teams go for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Belichick even did, and I was surprised when he
was bad at it. He was terrible at it.
Well, he was bad at it, but he did it more than in previous years.
I think the conversation though now really exists. There's now a real big conversation though about because it's analytics versus.
But that's the problem
momentum.
with it. That's the problem with
analytics versus momentum is a battle.
But that's the problem because that battle doesn't exist. It's not actually a thing. People are making it a thing.
No, because sometimes, and I, as you know, I am very pro go for it on fourth down, as you know. But there are times where I will look and I will check like the fourth down calculator thing.
But also everyone has a different model for win probabilities.
Right. So. But I'm saying like when they say go for it and the analytics say go for it, but you realize kind of how the game is going.
And and I think that I think that's something that these models, every model has weaknesses, and I think
there are some things that numbers just can't calculate.
I agree, and I think that Next Gen Stats is going to help us reduce the noise. Football is the noisiest sport in the world when it comes to things about things going on, and Next Gen Stats, you see so many of these stats that get tweeted out by all these ESPN people. We need access to that.
Yes.
I've been saying this for so many years.
Yeah, I haven't been saying it, but I've been thinking it.
We need access to these route charts.
I've actually not been saying because I've just always assumed it was out there somewhere, and I just couldn't find it. So you can't find it either. All these extra PFF stats, extra Next Gen Stats.
Oh no, the extra PFF stats like PFF WAR, they hold that back. PFF's they have
they keep all that
they
stuff
have filters and stuff for by quarter on PFF.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't. That's not.
Yeah, that they only give that.
And there needs to be more availability.
Teams. They actually sell stuff to teams. I think.
And what I think is those type of stats are directly correlated to
Next Gen Stats. By the way, that's an even bigger problem.
Right, but how we
Next
in
Gen
the media
Stats, Next Gen Stats is the future of this.
Well, if they start releasing these stats to the public,
and trust me, they will.
When?
Eventually. Not everything's going to come out, but we're going to start seeing...
But it needs to be more open.
But I don't know about this year. I don't know about next year. But as it begins to... Because just a couple years ago, you couldn't even find, anything.
Right.
They were just showing you, one little thing of a guy running... You had, one... Next Gen Stats was literally just... How fast was this guy going a couple years ago?
Well, you know why it changed? Because more people cared about it. So the more people care about
now
it, the
more people are going to care about it. More people they're going to push it. They're going to push it. And it's going to be a big deal. And it is a big deal. And it's going to be the future of analysis in
Put
football.
my screen up. Once it
Yep.
loads.
They tweet out so many things that I can't find. And eventually
Formations.
Yep, can't find that.
I can't find this on any website. It's something I've been wondering all year.
You can't find it anywhere.
This is something. This formations in general is a stat that I have been trying to find, and I'm
and I think the big problem is.
Here we go. This is something I've been talking about all year, and here we go. Actually, now I have something that I've been wondering. I've been trying to find all year because I've been saying the Bengals love empty. They love empty, and
my thing is,
I spent 10 minutes on a stream. I spent 10 minutes during a Bengals Titans trying to find the formations for empty and who runs it the most. I couldn't find it, and then I realized a couple days ago the Rams like it as much. I bet they're the top 2, and I spent another 5 minutes trying to find it. I can't find it. Well, first of all,
what the Rams also do? The Rams also play inside the hash marks.
Look, I mean, look at that. They're 28th in formation width. They're super tight.
And all right, we've got to wrap this up, but. Again, there's so much in the NFL that, especially with next gen stats, it's been a huge thing that they need to release, yada yada yada. They need to release, etc. But you know what? Eventually, we know that that is coming. At some point, I don't know when. They have to, yeah. And the NFL, and it's going to continue to be the biggest sports league in the world until the world ends. Really, there's. Not okay. Not okay. Biggest sports league in America.
Maybe after that, Sam.
Because the sport of football, no matter who's playing it no matter who the best players in the world are, people are going to watch the best players in the world play football in America, and it's going to happen. And even though there's a ton of research saying that it's such a dangerous sport, people still play it.
They're also making it safer, though.
And they are. And
you can't ever make it safe, even if you make a two-hand touch, it'll never be safe. But they're doing the best they can.
Yep, and that's.
I don't think I would have been able to say that last year. I'm sorry. I think I would have been able to say that 4 years ago.
Football is going to.
It seems like they're actually making a real effort to make this a safer game.
Yep, and that's great. Deal. And just the state of the league, we're in such a interesting place, just like with all the things going around with ownership and coaching, but then all the good things that the league is doing outside of
field look. I don't know if the off the field look has been the off the field has not been this turbulent in a few years.
But there's also
on the
so
field,
much good.
I don't think there's ever been this much going for them on the field.
Because you have Josh Allen, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have the talent, you have the Lamar Jacksons of the world.
And have the high-end talent.
The fact that Lamar Jackson might not be one of the, let alone, like, the fact that he's not the best quarterback in the league, let alone not top whatever, 8, is insane how talented he is and how there's guys better than him.
Yeah.
And that's the state of this league.
And you know why, though? Because the NFL has made such a big deal about prioritizing offense. And I'm realizing this right now as you're saying it.
We're trying to wrap up here.
Yeah, I know. This is the last point, though. You know how they prioritize you know how you get more players to play defense? You start highlighting defensive players at a larger level.
Yep. Have a defensive player win MVP.
Not only that. I'm not even saying that.
Glorify defense.
I'm talking about Twitter. I'm talking about the NFL on social media putting out, hey, look at this really nice chase down play, or look how far he just traveled to make, because they have next gen stats. That's how you get it to go up.
Yep. And the NFL, it's got so much going for it on the field, and it's going to have so much going for it on the field. And it's going to have the media obsessing over it forever. Just like
how many shows are there?
Thank you. We gotta wrap this up. It's the moment you've been waiting for. It's game picks. Sam Fetterman, Michael Filipkowski, Jack Morgan. 3rd annual PowerSports Power Hour Super Bowl special.
The best segment on the show.
Before we get into everything else, we gotta play The ones that were sent in. Not playing that one. That's too long.
Yo, what's up, Sam? All right, so I got my Super Bowl pick. I'm picking the Bengals. I think that Joe Burrow has gone too far to not go ahead and win it. I think the Bengals are going to go ahead and get the win, and I got it being 27-30. I think McPherson gets a game-winning field goal or something like that to happen because he's had a great season. I think they're going to ice it with him. And, give me the Super Bowl MVP to be Joe Burrow.
Who is that?
That is Marco.
Okay, I like the vibe so far. I'm a fan.
Yo, what's up, everyone? It's Sklar, otherwise known as FBHQ, and I've officially made my Super Bowl prediction. I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams to take the win, 34-28. I've been pretty split on this all week long, but I just really like the Rams here. I was looking over some of the statistics, and they have top 15 numbers at pretty much every statistic you can imagine. And I really think that's going to help them win this game. They don't have a lot of holes on their team. The Bengals obviously have some holes in the offensive line. And I think the Super Bowl MVP, Cooper Kupp, is going to have a great day. I think the
Okay, thank you, Sklar.
Oh, you know, you told him.
I'm going to take the Rams over the Bengals. Final score, I'm going to roll with 34-28. I think the Bengals can put up some points. I think they hit some deep shots. They've
Tell
done it
you
every
who's winning
game. There's
Super
no
Bowl
reason for
MVP.
me to think that they won't do it this game, even though the Rams defense is probably one of the better defenses. So that he doesn't kill the Rams by himself. And I think they obliterate that.
All right, whatever. I don't even need to hear the Super Bowl MVP. I am revising this for next year.
Yeah, you gotta like. What I would do is maybe like have instead of a voiceover, just have like a
Instead of me saying no shorter than 30 seconds, I'm going to say no longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah, that probably would have been wiser.
I have the Los Angeles Rams winning 24-18, and the Super Bowl MVP will be Cooper Kupp after he gets over 150 receiving yards and 2
on Black History Month.
Hey. What he's about to
that
do to
seemed
Eli
a bit
Apple.
intentional.
Super Bowl 56 is exactly where the Los Angeles Rams expected to be when they traded for Matthew Stafford last offseason. And
shut up. We don't care.
They went all in this year, not only acquiring Stafford, but also getting Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller, who have both provided much-needed production down the stretch for the Rams to get here. The aforementioned Stafford has always been a pretty volatile quarterback with a high ceiling and a pretty low floor. They've got the chemistry. Championship with Elliott. The Rams are clear favorites to win this game. They are 4-point favorites. Another one, depending on the betting market. But I think we've seen a lot of things in the NFL this year.
No less than 30 seconds. I swear to God.
Is another one of those things. I would have called you crazy.
I don't even know what he
It's a
thinks.
whole soliloquy. It's a whole soliloquy.
I didn't come for a soliloquy, Sam.
Yeah, this was really bad. Just
You gonna keep playing all of them? Like, here's the thing, right?
What's up?
Just terrible planning.
Next year, what you have to have is you just have to have like a sign-up sheet, Google form.
28-24. I think their defense will step up and have a couple fumble recoveries. And I also think that the Bengals offense will have a slow start to the game. And I think the MVP will be Matt Stafford. And I also think that Odell Beckham will have a big game.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Nah, Eli Apple gonna lock his ass up.
No, dude.
Okay, this is a good one.
What's up, Sam? John Reed here with my Super Bowl prediction. I'm super excited for the game. I'll be watching it live from Foxborough, and hopefully next year we'll get the Patriots back in the big game. But I'm gonna go out and say the final score
That's for the
is going to
birds.
be 34-28 Bengals, and with the MVP not being Joe Burrow, but
Let's go!
being T. Higgins. So,
Ooh.
Good day, Nation. We're rolling with them, and go Bengals.
Ooh, I like that. I like
Trade alert.
that.
Ben Simmons to the Bengals for Super Bowl Sunday.
Shut up.
Go on there. Okay, I wanted him anywhere but Philly.
Comes down to
And I'm out.
Nobody can hear you. You're cut.
if you were to tell me in August that the Cincinnati
That's already a
Bengals
bad start. It's gonna be a long.
I'm
night.
sorry,
I'll tell you.
Spencer. Can't play that.
Cut like Eli.
The Super Bowl is going to be a great matchup. I'm a Bengals fan, so maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but I'm excited, and I think the Bengals offense matches up better than people think. I feel like outside of Ramsey, the Bengals wide receivers are going to feast. T. Higgins, legacy game, calling it.
Yes.
Defensively, the Bengals will continue
The Bengals.
to shine.
Bengals.
Got it.
Very underrated. Carried the team for the first half of the season until Burrow started to break out. And Bengals will take home the Super Bowl. They'll win 28-24, and I'll give Joe Burrow his first Super Bowl MVP.
Okay, thank you, Andrew.
It's a good one.
There we go. This is a solid time too.
That's what we gotta model it after in future years. That's a perfect one. A little bit of flavor, but you got to.
Yeah. You got
Like,
to
it's
the
okay
point.
to add a little bit of flavor, a little bit of personality.
Yeah.
That's what we want. But we don't need you,
It's-
sitting up here giving us 5 minutes of, the season
Yeah.
recap, right?
I-
Sam's already given you like 3 hours of that, so
Yeah. Sam's gonna be tweeting out. I need your picks. He's gonna send this video in as us. This is an example. This is exactly how.
Here's how not to do it.
Here's
So
how
Jack,
not to
you
do
know
it.
who
Here's
you're
a
picking, right?
5-minute
You know,
video of someone-
you know who you're picking.
I know who I'm picking. I've known since last week.
All right, this person says 31-27 Bengals Burrow MVP. That's actually a good way to do it.
Forward.
A lot of Burrow MVPs. I mean, no love to
Valid
Jesse Bates
pick.
plus 10,000.
Sam Fetterman Show. This is Angry Paddock. You can find me on Twitter with that exact handle.
Okay.
Me personally,
Self
I believe
promos.
the
Get outta
Bengals are
here.
gonna win the Super Bowl by a score of 34-31, with the Super Bowl MVP being cornerback Eli Apple.
Oh.
His game ceiling.
He's a Giants fan, by the way. That's saying.
Let's go, Eli
I mean,
Apple.
hotel.
Let's go. 4
I think
picks,
he's-
2
Hotel
more
was a
recoveries,
Giants
20 tackles to win
I
the
think
game.
he's joking, and that's what makes it so funny.
Super Bowl MVP, Kevin Huber.
Yes.
9 punts, 3 holds.
Yeah. Oh God. Dude, I mean,
Hey, I mean,
Eli Apple wins Super Bowl MVP.
All right. Jack.
I'd be dead. Yeah. I prop set up for this one, by the way.
Who is
All right,
going to win Super Bowl 56?
I'm an Eagles fan, right? So I know the story of an underdog.
Oh my
The
god.
Bengals.
Here
Oh.
Hey, yeah, here we go.
Oh boy,
Bengals,
here we go.
Every single game, they've been underdogs. They've been overlooked. Oh, the Raiders, they're gonna come in, they're gonna beat them.
The Raiders were not going to
No
beat.
one
Hey,
said
there's people. I
that.
swear to God, there were people.
Nico was
And-
the
and
only
believe-
person who said that.
There's go to my school and you'd see just
Your
the most
school
ridiculous
is
people.
full of non-football nerds.
I
You
know,
got
but
Philly
that's-
kids. You
prove
got
my
Philly
point.
kids. They're all
They
eating
go in, they
cheesesteak.
take
They're
care of
Philly
business.
kids. That's where bad things happen.
The
according-
Titans, the number 1 seed, you go into Nissan Stadium.
All right.
No match.
Who's winning the Super Bowl?
You know what? The Bengals have heart. Unlike this bum Simmons. They're gonna win it. They're gonna win it. 31-27. Give me the Bengals. Burrow's gonna be MVP. Joe Shiesty.
That's good. That's a good one right there. Gotta
Michael,
give credit. Yeah.
who is winning the Super Bowl?
You already know who's winning the Super. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Listen, I didn't come here wearing this jersey for nothing, all right? I didn't buy this jersey last year for nothing, all right? Bengals.
I say right foot creep, walking with that heater. Look around, stay low, make sure they don't see you. Catch them bad, walk down, face them with the heater. The double under your feature on your way to see.
I got the Bengals winning it 27-20 with Jamar Chase lining up, Joey B MVP, because it rhymes. Simpsons are always right, everybody. Every time. Give me them Bengals. Let's go.
I have
Sam, I best
deliberated.
be seeing you with the gritty right now.
I have deliberated
Right now.
for.
Sam, you better pick the Bengals.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
deliberated.
we all got to agree one time. We all have to
Shut
agree.
up!
I swear to God.
I have deliberated on this pick for the entire 2 weeks. it's been really the entire time I was set from the moment that the Rams won the NFC Championship. I was set. And I had my pick. And I didn't even think about it until the other day. I wrote down in my notes this exact sentence. The thing about the Bengals is that they don't need to be good on offense for the whole game to win. They only need a few explosive plays and a strong defensive performance. And then I was very close to switching my pick to a different team. And then I did switch my pick. And then I was going to switch it back. And it got to the point where Josh Berman and I, who you saw earlier on the show, we were talking for hours.
Berman and Mursky.
We talked for an hour about this, and we talked about how we both couldn't really figure out who was going to win, but we knew that one team we could think about how they would win easier.
It's clone.
And we're going at it together. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
Let's go! Let's go!
The score will be 23-20. And Joseph Burrow will be Super Bowl MVP.
Let's go! Let's go! We all did it!
Great
Individually,
choice!
We all picked different teams. What are the chances of that? We all picked different teams. We didn't collude. All right, none of this happened. All right, I literally picked who I was winning yesterday. Sam figured it out like last night because I saw it on his story. Jack, I'm assuming you probably picked.
I figured it out because I had to do a promo for school for their morning announcements. I was forced to figure out. Hey, Sam, Berman's
What's
your
up?
clone. So
Yes.
I'm assuming I know his Super Bowl pick now.
I said it. We're going in it together. This
love
video, this will not be coming out until probably after they release their show.
You gotta put it out now. You gotta get peak viewership, Sam.
But
here's what I gotta say.
As of right now, my pick is the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't think that's going to change.
Well, you better not change it.
The Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, I'm not changing it. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl. Think about that. Think about that. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
What is Jamar Chase gonna gritty too hard and tear his
No, I'm gonna-
ACL? Now you're gonna
listen,
change your
listen.
pick to the Rams?
Yes.
That's
Bro,
exactly.
I'm gritting, man. Like it's for real this time. All right.
No,
I just the Bengals got it. They got it.
Dude, Burrow wins a Super Bowl. I'll learn how to gritty. I mean, I
It's
do
not
and I
that
don't know
hard.
how to gritty.
It's not that hard.
It's not. Yeah, it's not that hard. But I'm white.
So I'm not doing
and
it
I'm,
again, man.
I'm white and I'm a half ginger. It's hard enough.
Oh
no!
I say right foot creep, walking with that heater. Look around, stay low, make sure they don't see you. Catch them bad, walk down, face them with that.
Yeah! The Cincinnati Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
No game analysis. We don't care. We have a feeling.
We've done hours of game analysis for this moment.
We've covered the whole
You've
season.
waited for hours to hear my pick, or you've just skipped to the end of the video.
Well, don't
If you
skip
did
to
that,
the end.
I have no respect for you.
No respect at all.
Just kidding. Thank you so much for watching the PowerSports Power Hours 3rd annual Super Bowl special. Michael Filipkowski, for Nico, for Josh, for Scott, for Theo, for Jordan, and for Jake. That's Jack Morgan. That's Michael Filipkowski. I'm Sam Fetterman. Enjoy the game.